This episode of An Unexpected Podcast is brought to you by Jasmine Murfeld. Thank you. Hello, friends, and welcome to An Unexpected Podcast. I'm Ez.
And I'm Lane.
And we're talking Tolkien.
We're coming to you from the Shire of America, the beautiful state of Ohio, and a little village called Amanda.
This week we'll be covering the Council of Elrond as a part of our journey through Middle-earth, and this is a big chapter.
It is.
Huge, actually.
Length alone.
Right. And, you know, it is, like, I think the audio is like an hour and 45 minutes just in listening.
It took me 5 days, like 5 24-hour days to read back to back to back. I do a lot of back skipping. I can't help it.
I believe that, actually.
So I am.
I believe that.
So I am.
You know, Goldberry was actually telling me earlier that, you know, she watched you for 2 hours read one paragraph.
Yeah, well,
over
I
and
like
over
to
again.
dig deep, my friend. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm like a dwarf.
Well, that's fine. Should we give them a little update on how we're going to the procedure for the Council of Elrond?
Procedure?
It's a procedure. You know,
We're getting cut open here.
Something's going to happen.
Yeah, no, you're right.
We are going to dissect it.
Wow, look at you. You're a surgeon with those words. Yeah, we're doing it in 2 parts, right? Part 1, which we're going up to where Gandalf begins his recollection and I guess really filling in the gaps of where he's been and what's happened to him.
Right. Yeah. So that's the part we're going to save for part 2.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. We'll read up till that, and then part 2 will be Gandalf and the second half of the chapter. So.
Okay. I mean, I was actually kind of surprised by the first half of the chapter and how much the historical connections were in there. It's bogged us down for a couple hours, just kind of hashing it out.
There's so much information. You want to make sure you get it straight, and the histories or the complexities of the histories is something that we're learning ourselves, right? It's a Hobbit's guide. Right. We're getting into it more and more and more, just out of curiosity, and really, it's just it enhances this read through, doesn't it?
It does.
Like it being a reread, it just gives more flesh and depth. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into quick counsel.
Yeah, how you been?
I've been great.
Are you burned?
You
were down in Floridor.
I'm a little bit. I have a little bit more of a tan. Okay,
You like nut brown, man.
Thank you.
Little hair nut brown.
Actually, I'm really proud of myself. I put on a crap ton of sunscreen.
You did.
Like every time we got out of the ocean or out of the pool or the lake, like
Those are the rules you're supposed to follow.
Right. And I'll just say that my sister and brother-in-law did not necessarily follow those rules, and they got burned up.
They're peeling like a potato, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh man.
So anyways,
The sun is nasty down there in Florida. Was it nice and humid for you?
Dude, it was. So I think there was a heat wave here in Ohio.
Yeah, it's felt like Florida here.
Yeah,
it has felt like Florida.
So as bad as it was here,
yeah,
they were talking about this down in Florida that we've never had. This is the worst it's been all year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and like no breeze, 0 breeze. So it was Floridor.
Do you like humidity? I hate. No, we've talked about this.
No, I don't think we have.
Well, off the podcast.
Okay.
Do you like? So tell me for the first time. Do you like humidity? As
I don't remember us talking about this
ever.
I don't.
Maybe
really.
I'm just confused. Maybe I'm assuming that winter's always dry and you love cold.
Well, we did mention that. Yeah, that I like cold.
Do you like humidity though?
Yeah, not really.
I don't either.
Yeah.
It could be if it's a dry heat and it's 1,000 degrees. I'm cooler with that than 86 and humid.
Yeah,
Just am.
I hear.
So
yeah.
That's all I got.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, so yeah, I got back. Arwen's moving up here a little closer.
She is.
Aw, she's the best.
Well, the council is about to start, so she's getting ready.
That's right.
She's got to sneak in.
She is. So another thing in quick counsel I want to mention, we are actually, I just got back from vacation, and Lane is going.
Yeah, you were headed down. You went down south. I'm headed north to the Kingdom of Arnor to try and wake some of those barrows up and see what we can. No, going to Canada. So we're recording this episode, the following episode, and then the episode following that all tonight and tomorrow morning.
Just crazy.
Yeah. So some of the new stuff won't be exactly up to date, and something could break over that time, but
yeah,
you guys will be all right.
We'll be all right.
We'll be good. You'll probably let us know before we even know.
Well, this actually gave us a good opportunity to pull some stuff that we thought was real good discussion going on in the group, and pull it into this week's episode, and then we divide it up into.
Yeah, you guys are in these a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
So I think
as it should be.
Yeah, exactly. So let's dive into some of that. First, we are going to anything else for Quick Counsel, my friend?
How many people are signed up for the Billy Boyd World Tour?
Double digits.
Wow.
We're up to 12. I think 12 to. Last time I checked, I think it was around 12. There might be more though. I haven't checked since before I left.
So if you haven't done that and you'd like to participate in that, sign it up. I think we were talking today, and this isn't set in stone, but something we'd like to do is have it do that tour around as many uppers that sign up, and then as we talked about, sending it to Billy.
Yeah, once we're all done,
sending it to Billy, having him take a picture with it too, and then send it back. We're talking about maybe throwing in like a world map in there, having you mark, where you are on the map side, and on the back side write a little note to Billy, so that when we send it to him, he can have that map as kind of a keepsake of where his picture went and where we are.
Yeah, so that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think we're using the hashtag BBWT.
I think so.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Billy Boyd.
Or is it BBT? You put BBT.
I put BBT, but not on the directions. I think I changed it to no. I think I'm going to put a W in there. Okay. Yeah.
BBWT. Billy Boyd World Tour.
BBWT. It just rolls. It's good. Hashtag BBWT. So when you get that, that photo, hashtag that. Make sure you tag Billy Boyd. I think it's actually Boyd _Billy.
Boyd Billy.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
So that'll be a lot of fun. Another quick update. If you would like to, check out our Patreon page, Become an Elf, and we'll send you a T-shirt.
Yep.
And
those are in the works, aren't they?
They are in the works. And actually at the end of each month, once I see who all has sort of gotten in there, so come up July 1st, I'll place the order. And then those of you who signed up in June, you should be able to get your shirts hopefully in July. But this is the first run, so it might be a little delayed. And
we can be patient, yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to get higher quality T-shirts too.
So we want them to be top notch.
Yeah.
We also just hit another goal too. Before we got on and started recording, we saw that we have 30 patrons now. So thank you guys very, very much. Yeah. Who was our 30th?
Don't know actually, because it was kind of a shocker to me that I think she left a message.
Let me pull it up.
But
Steph Lynn Arps,
cool.
Yay, 30th patron. So now Ez and I, we're going to go out and we're going to do an axe throwing contest and an archery challenge.
We will record that.
Yes, we will.
We'll take the camera.
Yeah.
And you guys can watch me whoop Lane in the axe throwing competition.
Oh, man, come on.
I will.
We'll do some sword play after it.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And I think Goldberry's going to accompany us, right?
Actually, she might outthrow us. And out. Oh,
she's going to. Yeah, absolutely. She will.
For sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
bullseye every time.
But that'll be a lot of fun. So we've got new goals and stuff we're popping in there from time to time just to make it a little more fun and things. So this month, real quick in June, because of vacation time and things like that, we didn't get to post anything super exclusive. But we are going to post a bunch of just funny, random appendices stuff to kind of because I've got some backlog stuff there. And then in the month of July, we will have our first Hobbit's Guide, a history through.
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, me too.
It's a lot of fun. What kind of appendices are you going to be uploading? What's coming up?
Oh my gosh, dude, we've got the one where you're talking to the toaster. I don't know. You're talking.
I don't remember that. That was an out of body experience.
Half of these I don't remember. Julian comes back a couple times, and so it's just bizarre.
And then we have a drinking game, right?
Drinking game, and I apologize.
Which was the first. That was our first goal, wasn't it? Drinks at the Dragon.
Yeah, Drinks at the Dragon. So we kind of just did a drinking game there. Played a drinking game, and we're still at the end of the summer, hopefully going to
make our own.
Make
that's
something
right.
that's going to be kind of fun. So
gosh.
Yeah, so there's
you guys
your
are keeping
update.
us busy, man.
You really are keeping us busy.
In the best
we love
way.
It. We really love it.
We do.
But there's also as each chapter just keeps getting
I know.
There's just more and more to it, right?
I know.
The world gets bigger and bigger, and the scope of this. I mean, this chapter right here.
You're right. In the same way that the adventure and the journey and the quest is becoming more and more real for our beloved characters in this book. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I do.
I do
actually.
too. I feel more of a responsibility. I feel more of an interdependence. I want you guys to have our best in the same way that you give us your best. And that's a burden, man. That's a good load to bear.
It is, and you'll see later in this episode some of the stories that we've gotten and some of the conversations that we've had. They're deep.
It's mind blowing. You guys blow our minds.
Somebody almost found an Arkenstone, and they're digging. Like it was just, I forget. I think it was Jessica.
Cow.
Just went nuts. on the group, and so there's just some cool stuff.
Wow,
that's how deep they're digging and mining, my friend. So
not too greedily or too deep though. Come on, we don't want to awaken any Balrogs.
That's true. Okay, what we got here? We're
dropping Eves. Yeah. So Christopher Michael, we got some show news first of all. So this is kind of cool. I don't know if you remember. Christopher Michael shared one of these articles with us. We've been kind of slow for news, and actually this article helps flesh that out as to why that's happened. Way back when we first started, guys, like in January or February, yep. We talked about Jennifer Salk, who took over the Amazon like creative studios, like the TV shows and everything. So she recently did an interview with Deadline Hollywood, and obviously she was asked about a lot of different things, but quite a few questions about Lord of the Rings. She brings that up as being one of their strong shows that they're developing. So obviously they're putting, not only putting a lot of money into it, but a lot of resources and thought and planning. So it was just an interview with her and her involvement and her strategies on creating shows for Amazon. But most of these questions were directly about Lord of the Rings. So I'm just going to read some of these answers that she gave. So Deadline asked, the Lord of the Rings series, have you locked in writers for that yet? Now, this is very interesting because we've been wondering, why aren't we hearing anything about, who's leading it creatively? Why have we not heard any mention of actors' names that might be attached to the project? Anything. Mm-hmm. Where it's going to be filmed? We don't know.
Right.
She says, despite all the noise around Lord of the Rings, the deal only closed a month ago. Yeah. So this interview was released June 11th. So May is when the deal was actually finalized. Wow. So that's how big of a deal this was, and how many hands were in this. It took 5 months.
Yeah.
5-6 months to close, because I think they announced it back in November, November and December, and so it's taken this long just to tie up all the legalities and all the loose. So while I'm sure they have ideas in mind, because they've unofficially, this whole time secured those rights, they probably haven't been able to announce anything. So maybe that's why, I'm guessing, news has been a little slower. So she said, in the meantime, I've sat and talked with Simon Tolkien for a couple of hours, and Amazon TV executives has spent a lot of time with them. She spent the last couple of months meeting anyone who had said, I'm really passionate about it and want to get in and talk about the show and what's possible. I think you'll see us honing in on a strategy in the next month. So some more news will come out then, which might involve a group of writers. Clearly there'll be someone in charge, but involves the estate and Peter Jackson, and there's a lot of conversations. So, bringing up Peter Jackson again, after we've heard that he will not be directing. Sounds like he might still be involved in terms of making suggestions or helping oversee certain aspects of the show. So they come out and say, is Peter Jackson involved in the series? She says the Peter Jackson conversations right now, we're right in the middle of them. It's how much do you want to be involved? How little? So he'll be almost like a consultant, I'm guessing, at the very least. I know there's been some discussion, and he's even said some things, but as far as I'm aware, the latest is that we're just in a conversation with him about how much or how little he would be involved.
Yeah.
So, especially if they want it to tie into the movies, well, he has to be involved at least in giving advice or helping create shortcuts from the films to the TV show. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, he's a wealth of knowledge.
He is. He is, and he spent a long time in Middle Earth.
Yeah,
he's shown how you can adapt something from Tolkien's written word to the mass audiences through films.
He did it, and he did it with great success. Yes, and so it'd be foolish to not speak with him.
Exactly.
Try to gain his support and help.
Exactly. Deadline says, are you working on one Lord of the Rings series or multiple ones? She says one at the moment, one big series. And it's at the moment. So that could all change too, which is also very exciting. And a big series is what we like to hear, right? Yeah. They also said with the same characters as the movies. She says, I think that we're not remaking the movies, but we're also not starting from scratch. So it'll be characters you love. They say, for example, she says, I can't give that out. I don't have anything for it. So this is making me wonder, like this whole time, you've kind of asked me, is the Aragorn thing, is that official? Even Sarah today asked me, she was like, is the Aragorn, like being the lead for the series, is that confirmed by anyone? And I stopped and thought about it. I'm like, well, like the One Ring reported on it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's true, as we've all come to learn. But so now I'm not really sure. I mean, I'm hoping that's still the direction they go, but
yeah,
I don't know. This almost raises more questions for me than it gives answers.
Here's the thing, man. I don't know. I'm just
give it to me, baby. Come on.
We were talking about this before we started, and I think you've referenced the One Ring before, .net or whatever the heck they're called. Okay, and I quite frankly don't want to mention them anymore. Okay, because let me tell you something. Okay, if that's breaking news, then we're gonna start breaking news. Yeah. Okay, my friend. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll start spitballing and throwing, spit wads at the wall. And
I mean, did you guys hear Adam Driver? Hey, it's official. Just kidding.
They're pretty cool, but
they've been around a long time, and they do have spies. I know they have people on the inside, and they've been invited to. They've been invited when The Hobbit was being filmed. They were invited on set and everything. So that's cool stuff. It just I don't know.
Cool. They're just how are they as close with Tammy Lane and Billy Boyd as we are? I don't think so.
I don't know. So, you ask us. No. So that's all the show news right now. The Tolkien biopic is still no news yet, no release date. So we're just continuing to wait on that, and we will. Mm-hmm. In other corners of Middle Earth, we have the poll. So sometimes you strike out, guys. All right. Sometimes you try, you get up to bat, and the pitcher's just better than you are. And so I self-admittedly, and Ezra let me know before we started, this poll was not one of the better ones.
Did I actually say that? Did I say that?
No, but okay. I think I kind of brought it up, and you just confirmed. You're like, oh yeah.
No, I think it was one of those times where I was looking at my computer prepping for the show, and you asked me.
No, it was one of the weaker ones. Okay. I was like, I really don't know what to do for this chapter. So I said, there are two types of people in this world. Which type are you? Are you a many meetings, or are you a many partings? And I left it kind of ambiguous because that could be like metaphorical. It could also be, more obviously just.
You struck out.
I did pretty much. Out. It's like many meetings. I was thinking, hey, are you outgoing? Do you like meeting people? Many partings. Are you more of an introvert? Would you rather just Irish goodbye and get out of here? So 65% said many meetings. 35% said many partings. So gotcha. We're a relatively extroverted group, I think, and we like to meet people. We don't like saying goodbyes, and goodbyes are hard. But some people love that catharsis of saying goodbye. I see you again, and you see you again. And so 48 votes. Most of you like meeting people, which is good.
That's good because we are a book club, and
yeah. Can you imagine if we didn't like meeting people?
That'd be crazy. I don't think people understood quite necessarily like that, but it's cool. Okay, now that you're asking me on the podcast, I'll just go.
I should have had more context.
That was good. I'm kidding. It's fine. The polls have been great, actually.
Thanks.
Now, actually, as a part of, in other corners of Middle Earth, and you always referenced the polls here. We thought that's a good spot to kind of talk about. The group, some of the stuff that's happening in the group. So I thought,
because there is so much going on, and we want, like, in a perfect world, we talk about everything that's on there.
Sure.
Because it's such good stuff that everyone needs to hear it. And I'm not sure everyone goes to not everyone is on the group, obviously, and not everyone's on the page that listens.
Sure, yeah.
And reads along with us and joins in the conversation. So I just want everyone to hear it all the time because it's so good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we are going to talk about it this episode because since we've cut the chapter in half, we thought it'd be a good time to really pull some of that in here. So, Jim SP, right? I'm just going to pull some names out here. I'm going to talk about what they've said. I thought this was kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's talking about how we've established that Sarah, is Lane's Goldberry.
Yep.
And Lane is Butterbur.
Yep.
Right. So who is me? In our up version of Middle Earth. And I thought this was funny. There's some funny responses, which I didn't pull all of those or whatever, but people were throwing out some cool ideas.
They were. And we talked about this before. So and I said, when it comes down to it, you're Samwise Gamgee.
And I can't believe you said that.
It's just the strongest Hobbit. That's who you are.
I can't believe that means a lot. that means a lot to me that you would say that.
It's genuine. I'm not.
I know you are. I know you're being genuine, but to me, I don't feel like.
Well, neither does Sam. You're just proving my point even more. Right, way to go, Ez. But who would you say you relate to?
I threw out either. I always gravitate towards a wizard or the hobbits. This is just who I am. Yeah. You know, I know you kind of gravitate towards, like you've said, Butterbur because you know, just for your personality and things like that. But you also, in my eyes, are more of an Aragorn, right? That's more of who you are. That's who you try to be.
I'm blushing.
You know, it's weird because you have Butterbur, you know, moments.
But do you think? I wonder if Aragorn does, though.
Maybe he does.
He's out in the wilderness. He's got to entertain himself.
Yeah, maybe he talks to himself and, you know.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Well, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But so one of the neat ones that I thought was thrown out, I think it was thrown out by, was this Matt? Maybe one of my buddies, Matt, might have thrown out Radagast.
Oh, somebody did. Yeah,
somebody threw out Radagast, and that made me happy. Yeah. Okay, because guys, I've had an obsession with. If you think I've had an obsession with Gandalf, like the next, I mean, like Radagast has been huge.
Yeah, man.
I'll just tell you this: when I'm reading The Hobbit, I'm almost certain this. I'm just hopefully, when I was first reading The Hobbit, right, and they mention other wizards, and they happen across.
Did your mind just explode?
Radagast the Brown. Yeah. They don't even say anything really about Radagast. It's just boom, he's there. Yep. You know, mention him on their way, on their journey or whatever. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Let's get back to this guy. And the whole time I'm thinking we're going to come back to this wizard that we randomly mention and talk about and, you know, reference or whatever. Nope, nothing.
And we don't get much of him here in this chapter.
We don't, which is why I think it's cool. I think
he's mysterious.
Yeah, he is. And there's some good talk of him and stuff. Yeah. But now the hobbits, though. It's either, and it's just two extremes here, it's either I'm Bilbo or I'm Nob. Okay.
You also said Mary, didn't you?
Yeah, Mary.
You brought Mary up too. Nob's a BA, man.
Dude, I like Nob.
There was also I
like Nob a lot.
Did you bring up? Oh, I can't remember who it was. Brought up who would play Nob and Bob.
Oh yeah.
If we had to cast them in the films.
Yeah.
And I think Danny DeVito and young Jason Alexander was my favorite. That would be perfect.
That would be perfect. Yeah,
you'd be a good Nob.
So, anyways, thanks, guy. I mean, that's fun. It's nice to have that kind of, you know, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It's community.
We're
a book club.
We haven't landed on, you know, one particular thing. It's
going Samwise. You just proved it.
Well, as the group names me, that's what I'll be. So
very noble of you, sir.
We'll go that
very
direction.
Noble.
Now, let's move on. Christy Burgess just said that she was actually going to the Oxford exhibit. There was this exhibit that was going on there. Kind of highlighting some of Tolkien's work, and I think they had some like, some of the original manuscripts and different things that were out there.
Yeah.
Couldn't take pictures. It was a real.
Can you
sort
imagine?
Of like, I'd love to know, Christy, how that went. I think that this was posted on June 20th, so a couple of days ago from when we're recording. So hopefully we get some.
Wouldn't you love to go to Oxford someday?
Oh man. It's actually one of our goals on Patreon.
Guys, can you imagine wouldn't it be awesome to go and meet all of our UK uppers at the Eagle and Child?
Dude.
Have a second breakfast, talk and get to meet you guys, and then run a podcast, an episode from the Eagle and Child, and have all of you guys on.
Yeah.
To tell your Tolkien story. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Just saying, it can happen.
It's maybe someday. That'd be cool.
Someday.
That's all. Yep.
So, we've got Victoria, mentioned here. Oh, she did a marathon, right? Yeah. With her dad. I think this was for Father's Day.
Yeah.
You know, and did the
started
extended
early,
edition.
which is smart. Yes.
Yeah, extended edition though. Super proud. I mean, she gave us updates along the way and finally like completed it and stuff. So congrats, because I don't always finish that marathon.
No, that is a long marathon. I've only done it once, and it was in a theater. And it was as much as I love those movies, it was grueling.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel like you've been on the journey with them.
Yeah, dude.
It was, you know that like airport sweat you get?
Yeah, I do.
Where you've been traveling and you're like, I just want to take a shower.
Yep.
The same thing is true if you spend that much time in a movie theater.
Yeah.
Like I feel greasy. The air is kind of saturated with butter, and so it's just getting in you, you know?
Yeah. We should do one of those. Someone actually mentioned that at the end of our reread, we should maybe do like a book to movie comparison. You know,
our friends at Switch and Flick do that, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
It could even be a live thing where we say, "Hey, turn on your movie, let's go."
Yep. Sarah actually brought that up the other day. Goldberry said, "Why don't you guys do that? That'd be kind of cool." And I thought, we should. It'd be fun.
be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kristen Noella. Let's see. Oh, just rode 6 miles while listening to the podcast. Just kept saying WWAD the whole time since the wind was blowing against me the whole time, and it worked. So what would Aragorn do? We're working on those bracelets.
Gotta get those bracelets. And, I'm wearing mine every day when we get it.
Yeah,
every day.
I thought that was pretty.
That's neat. An honor. That's for Aragorn. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Some other good stuff here.
Luca Michaletsky.
Yeah.
She says, I think. Oh, this is a big one, isn't it? Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is a big one. I think we have not discussed this topic here, but now that Elrond's council is nigh, we should talk about the ring itself. We know it is mighty, but how? What does the ring actually do? How could they have used it against Sauron, as Boromir said? Mm-hmm. Holy cow. Frodo, Bilbo, and Isildur became invisible when they put it on, but Sauron didn't. How would that have worked? Mm-hmm. Well, sorry. If some mightier being on the good side got it, like Gandalf, Galadriel, or Saruman. Or they could not have used it at all because it belongs to Sauron. Kind of like a Horcrux in the Harry Potter world. I'm unfamiliar. I don't know who Harry is. Mm-hmm. What do you think? So we had a lot of response on this, didn't we?
Yeah, we had some good response here. Gosh, you want to read Jessica's too, real quick? Thanks, man.
Yeah. Jessica Denboer says
we could share the paragraphs. Thanks, Jessica, because there's a lot here.
Yeah, in my opinion, the best way to start thinking about the ring is to break it down to the basics. We know it was forged by Sauron with the intention of taking control over the other rings and eventually over the free people of Middle Earth. Therefore, its main power is domination over free will. Yeah, totally. We know it gives the wearer sharpened senses. Think about Frodo and Amon-Hen. The ability to understand other languages. Think Bilbo with the spiders and Mirkwood, and Sam with the orcs and Mordor.
Yeah.
Hadn't thought about that. Unnaturally long life. Important to recognize that it merely extends life rather than renew it, if that makes sense. Yeah, you talk about Bilbo feeling thin, stretched, and obviously what it did to Smeagol.
Yep.
And invisibility. Kind of see my question below. It also seems that the greatness of the wearer influences the degree to which these powers can be used. So Saruman or Galadriel could use the ring with greater power than, say, someone like Gollum or Bilbo. Yeah, kind of like a magnifying glass almost. Mm-hmm. Similarly, the ring may be used differently or more selectively with more powerful beings like Sauron or Tom Bombadil. So the wearer may be able to choose whether or not to be invisible when they put it on. Hadn't thought about that. That's very interesting. Whereas Frodo, Bilbo, and Isildur were not great, quote unquote, enough to have that choice. Mm-hmm. Sauron was one of the Maiar, and I was always under the impression that Bombadil was too. A theory for another time. We all have our Bombadil theories, don't we? Mm-hmm. Even though Gandalf and Saruman are technically Maya as well, they are on Middle Earth in human form, so I don't think they would have control over it to the same extent as Sauron or Bombadil.
Well, Jessica, good grief. I mean, this is epic. So far, epic. I love this.
Yeah.
And because, like, she's right that the Maiar, the Astari, were kind of, like, told there's a limitation. They take this guise as, counselors, elder, wizards, whatever, wizened men.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily. I mean, could they unleash and use their power to a greater extent? That's something I've always wanted to kind of.
It's a great question.
Look at, ponder on, do some research on, because you're right. There is a little bit of a difference there, right? Their role is very kind of limited.
It is.
They're the wise.
Yeah.
And they're there to give counsel and aid.
Yeah. So, and they're supposed to show. They're supposed to show a certain amount of restraint through that, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's also really interesting to talk about the ring as an actual character in the story. It seems to have a will of its own. Yep. Mm-hmm. It has the ability to change size in order to serve its purposes. It draws the Black Riders to it, and Sauron can sense where it is when someone puts it on. Just through the nature of the ring, meaning that its purpose is to control the will of others, I would argue that it could never be used for good. Even if that was the intention of the wearer, there is never any justification for bending the will of others, even if it was for the greater good. Shout out to my Potter peeps. Unlike a Horcrux, I absolutely believe that someone else could use it other than Sauron. Like Boromir said, they may They might have been able to use the ring to defeat Sauron, but I think the outcome would have been corruption and destruction across Middle-earth. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gandalf and Galadriel both support this idea when they refuse to take the ring from Frodo. They know they would try to use it for good, but that evil would overcome them in the end. With the reread, I've been wondering, does the ring actually give the wearer true invisibility, or does it just bring them into the Wraith world? We know the wearer still casts a thin shadow in broad daylight. Yep. So what actually happens to their body when they put the ring on? The ring doesn't protect against physical harm. Bilbo knocking himself unconscious in the Battle of Five Armies, Frodo getting stabbed by the Witch King, Gollum biting off Frodo's finger. That's a great point. So it's not like it's a cloak. It's not a protection. So the wearer must still be present in the physical sense. Right. Absolutely. To end on a good note, even though the ring is immensely powerful, hence the plot of the whole damn story, it is not a be-all and end-all weapon. Sauron was defeated multiple times even before the Last Alliance when he had the ring in his possession, and it was ultimately destroyed in Mount Doom. So good and light always wins.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some really good thoughts there on the true, is it true invisibility versus Wraith world? Discussion, being able to, and I think one of the things that she mentions that's really neat is the idea that different people with different range of powers and strength, the greater your strength, possibly you could wield a greater power.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
And you could do different things, right? And I almost wonder if it does play to just that person, like Bilbo being able to understand the spiders, right?
Yeah,
and hearing them in the different language and stuff like that, and then I don't know, just it might give the different ring bearers different powers or something,
Right.
I never really thought about it.
I hadn't thought about it either, and even almost kind of again, I can't think of a better word, but magnify their abilities, magnify their interests.
There you go. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Kind of like, almost like accentuate things that are already within them.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, isn't it?
Right.
But then ultimately bending that for ill purposes, like corrupting that, even those strengths that they have. Yeah.
She also pulls, Jessica pulls a, from a, we were not there yet.
Mirror of Galadriel.
Yeah.
Or Galadriel.
Whichever. But she pulls a passage there where Frodo is talking to her. And I think he asked the question, why can I not see all the others and know the thoughts of those that wear them? They're talking about the rings.
Yeah.
The rings of power.
Which she has one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she said, you have not tried. Only thrice you've put the ring upon your finger since you knew what you possessed. Do not try it. It would destroy you. Did Gandalf tell you that the rings give power according to the measure of each possessor? Before you could use that power, you would need to become stronger and train your will to the domination of others. Yet even so, as ring bearer and as one who has borne it on his finger and seen that which is hidden, your sight has grown keener. You've perceived my thought more clearly than many that are accounted wise. You saw the eye of him that holds the 7 and the 9, and you did not see and recognize the ring upon my finger. She's asking a question there. And you did not see and recognize the ring upon my finger.
Yeah.
There's more to that, actually.
Yeah. That's very, and also interesting too how, she says that you have to train your will to the domination of others. And that sounds a lot like you have to try to become like Sauron.
Yeah, to really,
in order to wield that.
Because that's why it was
created. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you really use it for good? I'd say probably not.
Yeah. That's a good discussion, though.
That's a great, man. Wow.
That's some neat stuff.
We'll revisit that for sure.
Happening in the group. Moly. Yeah. Okay, and then I think one of the last things we have here, Chase McKinney. Let's see. What's up, uppers? What's up?
Purrs.
What's up, Purrs? Yeah. I was wondering if we could have future podcasts doing character studies. We could dive into backstory, symbolism, etc., Tolkien characters, maybe start with the Fellowship and then move into deeper waters, Tom Bombadil, Silmarillion, countless others. Sam's a character that really resonates with him, and he would enjoy hearing others, say which characters, they connect with or resonate with, and have some deep discussion. And I actually like this idea a lot. And I commented back to Chase and said, maybe at the end of each book, we could do, you'd have to kind of cap it. I don't know that we could do a full, up to that point, how have they changed from beginning of story to end in that book? Do a couple character studies, or even conduct some of those, find a way to do some of those in the group on the Facebook page, and do, some blog style stuff with the characters. But it is neat to see how they develop and change, over time.
Absolutely. And then even, how you can relate to them personally.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And how they change throughout the story. Yeah. So. Also on the group, Jim SP is putting together a really cool map. It's like a Google My Map. And so all you have to do is join the group if you want to have your location put on this map. But it's really cool to go on and see where we are all over the world. It's amazing. So you just have to go on there. I think it's near the top, or it's pinned to the top.
Okay.
And just put your location down, and Jim is getting us access so that we can add people as well.
Cool.
But either he or Ezra or myself will put you on there, and we'll be able to take a look at where everyone is throughout our Middle Earth.
Man, I think that's really neat, actually.
I think it's a great idea. And I think Calais had brought it up before.
Yeah.
And we had talked about it, and we just, got busy doing other stuff, and it just kind of fell through the cracks. But
is that the same thing he was mentioning?
I think so.
Same type of
I think it was. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's kind of come to fruition. Absolutely. Yeah. It's sort of come back up, and it's a real deal now. So
yeah,
really cool to see, man. It's really unbelievable to think about where you guys are all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really
all over the world.
It's really cool, man.
And you're listening to a couple hobbits in the Shire. I mean, that's
why our bigger plan is to eventually take a couple trips and go to different places
and see you guys meet,
and meet up and sit down and record and have some conversations.
Yes,
many meetings.
Let's do it. Let's go.
So
it's that time of year. It's time for an adventure, huh?
It is. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we're actually ready to dive into the reread.
Let's do it, man.
Is that cool?
Let's get in there. A lot of history.
Yeah. A lot of history. Last week we were in mini meetings, and we got, Frodo had recovered and he's good. He's all patched up.
Good. His friends are all there.
Yeah, his friends are there. We have some supper, and we sit down for some singing and some good talk with our old friend Bilbo.
That's right,
Uncle Bilbo. Yep. And that was a great conversation. I think we left them sort of getting ready. Sam was letting him know that, hey, there's a meeting.
Got to get to bed, Mr.
We
Frodo.
got a big old council coming the next day here. So
isn't it cool seeing how Sam, just the progression of Sam, talking about, I guess really just talking about that character study right there, and his favorite character, Chase's favorite character. It's just amazing to see how he's just continuing to step up.
Yes.
Every chapter he gets more and more confident in his role, and
and actually each of the hobbits develop in their own way.
They do.
And we were talking before we started, Bilbo, kind of man, this is one of the last chapters where we get to really, this and the next, talk with and engage with Bilbo. And boy, has he had a story or two.
Yeah.
And it just, for me, Bilbo is what started it all.
Right.
And so I love Bilbo.
Yeah.
And just to hear him say what he says in this chapter, gosh, it just gets to me, man. It's that's a hobbit who's been there and back again.
Yeah. He's so complex.
He is, man.
We talked about him being, even comparing him to other, to Frodo, really. But he seems a little more Tookish.
Yes, he
than
does.
Frodo.
He absolutely does.
He's got more of that
spirit.
Yeah. That was brought out of him, really. I mean, that was accentuated.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and I think it's why Gandalf, put his mark on his door, and Thorin and company showed up and took off. So,
right, man.
But okay, so there's your recap. The summary, and what we'll do is we'll just kind of give you a brief overview of what we're going to be talking about this episode. We're doing the first half of the Council of Elrond, so we're going to talk about who's at the council. We're going to talk about Elrond's story, and then we're going to talk about Boromir's dream, vision that he has.
Yeah.
So keep that short. We'll dive into all those separately here. So there's a lot.
And also Glowing's story as well.
Glowing. Past rate of Glowing's one of the first things. Yeah, thank you. So let's start off with a little bit of a I guess a roll call, right? You know,
who's here
at the council?
Yeah. So we have some known attendees, right? And I guess that implies that there may have been others that we didn't necessarily hear or that were addressed. Elrond, we know who Elrond is.
Sure. Yep.
Gandalf, Frodo, Bilbo, Glorfindel. We've got Aristor, Aragorn, Boromir, Glowing, Gimli, Legolas, and Galdor.
Yeah, it does feel like there was more there, though.
Doesn't it? Yeah. When you see it all listed out, you're like,
are you sure that's all? Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll talk about as we come into these first couple paragraphs. We'll get flesh out some more of those who need fleshed out.
Okay. Yep, that sounds good. So just to kind of start off here, the council, right? Frodo waking up early, getting ready, right? How do you think he felt, before this council, or how do you think he feels going into this? So in all seriousness, like he is the ring bearer.
Yeah.
Do you think? I mean, I think he felt like his journey was ended. He was coming to
for sure
some closure here.
He said, I mean, he even said, I feel ready for anything, but most of all, I'd like to just go out on a little walk. Mm-hmm. I love this because I feel this way a lot, man. We're always like hanging out around the house, or we drive places. I'm always pointing stuff out to you. You're like, okay, Lane, that's sort of random.
Yeah.
But he says, I should like to get into those pine woods up there. I can imagine imagine this open, gorgeous valley where, they reference several times being able to see the Misty Mountains. And it almost seems like it's enclosed, but not really. Just grand. There's so much to look at. It's open, yet secluded. And he's just, looking around and picks a little spot and says, I'd like to get up in there and see, just go adventure over there. Yeah. He's in the mood to just kind of, you're right. I think he there's no way in his mind
he doesn't think
he's taking this ring on ever again.
Right.
I think and he probably thinks, with all these great people here, I don't have to. I'm just a hobbit.
Yeah,
I'm done.
I'm
done. I'm among great company, and they'll think of a better way to handle this than me taking it.
Right. Yeah.
Or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But Gandalf says, we can't make any of those plans yet. Yeah. You'll have your chance later.
Yeah.
Which actually he does.
He does.
That's an interesting point.
So different from the films.
So very different.
So different.
We are in Rivendell for a lot longer than I realized.
Yeah, me too. I had forgotten that too. It was a nice little detail.
So, but there's a single clear bell that kind of rings out, right? It's a warning bell that the council is about to start. Both you and Bilbo are wanted. Yeah. So those are the two hobbits that are heading there. And so they follow the wizard along the winding path, right? Gandalf led them to the porch where Frodo had found his friends the evening before. The light of the clear autumn morning was now glowing in the valley. Now, it's interesting, as we said before, to remember it is autumn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Although it seems very summerish.
Yeah. So like summer still hung on a little longer in Rivendell.
Yeah. The noise of bubbling water came up from the foaming riverbed. Birds were singing, and a wholesome peace lay on the land. To Frodo, his dangerous flight, the rumors.
This was so interesting.
Yeah, and the rumors of the darkness growing in the world outside already seemed only the memories of a troubled dream.
And that's the power of Rivendell, isn't it?
Yeah.
And later Bilbo talks about being unable to keep track of days. So it really is just this, it's like this sanctuary, man. It's this safe place where evil's kept at a great distance, even if it just recently happened.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. So, one thing that I think is interesting is that there's this, Frodo's kind of given like a seat of honor, right? Mm-hmm. Bringing the ring this far, I mean, they say that this, that task alone, that journey, in and of itself rivals a lot of the great stories of the, of the earlier ages.
Sit alongside, the likes of, who does Elrond say?
They mention other elf friends,
right,
and stuff.
Yeah,
many elf friends.
Yeah,
and they put Frodo up there.
On those pedestals.
Yeah, among some great names.
How do you think that would feel?
We'll get to the names in a second. They're buried in here. Yeah. But yeah. So I don't know. I think that would be. I think he's probably blown away at that point, right?
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So let's get into it. So when he first walks in, he notices Glorfindel and Gloin, right? Strider's in the corner there. He's still wearing those old, travel clothes.
He changed out of his, because he was wearing something a little fancier the previous night, and so he's back into it's back to business. He's got his ranger clothes on. That's right.
Yeah. And I think we've already gone over some of the other names of everyone who is there. And I think some of these were like other. There were several other counselors of Elrond's household, right?
There you go.
Is it Aristor?
Aristor was the chief, and then we have Galdor, who was an elf from the Grey Havens, who had come on an errand from Círdan, the shipwright. So there was also a strange elf clad in green and brown. His name was Legolas, a messenger from his father Thranduil, the king of the elves of northern Mirkwood. So
yeah, so that kind of goes over the elves that are there, and interesting point. We're going to get to all of it, but Círdan, right? I had not like you have to, when you take this line by line, you pull out these names.
I know,
and it's like, holy smokes, I mean, as a youngster too, when you're reading this, when I was
this is why it's so intimidating. I think
it is, but you're reading over and you're like, oh, cool. I mean, as a youngster, I remember being in middle school and high school. Going, this is cool. Cool. Another elf. Right. This is awesome. These guys are bad. They're badasses. But no, they're more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're more than that. And so
they are. Yeah, they're big deals.
Our studies, Lane and I have been really digging deep into some of these names and the heritage and trying to follow the family lines and all that good stuff. Yeah. And it really gets you to. It gives you a new perspective on
it. Puts you in the previous two ages.
It does.
I mean, you go way back to the beginnings of Middle Earth and all the history throughout, because these elves live forever. I mean, like that's it's just immortal, incredible. Yeah. And we also, we get a little explanation in the tie-in to like who Legolas is. Obviously Legolas is so popular that it's easy to forget, his connection to even the events in The Hobbit, right? That Thranduil is his father. So we have that tie-in, and then also the tie-in of Glowing being a member of the company that went on the quest for Erebor, and Gimli, his son, being there too.
Right.
So, and then we get this big long description of Boromir.
Yes,
he gets his own paragraph, man.
We do
to show his importance, his strength.
Yeah. But you know that I always have been. I never really liked Boromir that much.
Yeah.
I can't.
Why do you think that is? Was it the films?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And when I read Boromir,
he's not the same, is he?
No, he's not.
He's not the same.
But I'm okay. I'm okay with what they did because of his redemption in the film and the way they did that.
Right.
Whole piece. But when I read,
they just sped it up, didn't they? They sped up his deterioration, kind of. I think. Yeah, and they had to.
Some of his lines in here are exaggerated and taken to an extreme, I guess.
Sure. Yep.
Whereas I didn't really see him coming off with that type of tone.
No, I mean neither. It was a totally different tone. Yeah.
But I mean, I love the actor who plays him.
Sean Bean's amazing.
Yeah. So he's still great.
Yeah.
But I never really connected with him, and the more I read now about the history between Arnor and Gondor, it is pretty it's pretty epic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, they go on this. They mention he basically was on his own sort of like journey, right? He has his own. We talked about. We're going to mention his dream here in a little bit. He is seeking counsel.
Yeah.
And he actually, I don't think he's summoned to the council of Elrond, but he was just coming for counsel from Elrond.
It's interesting to notice too that they were here to either relay information to Elrond or to ask for advice. It wasn't. They weren't sitting here thinking, "Oh, we're going to be talking about the One Ring to rule them all."
Right.
And that wasn't. Yeah, that wasn't pre-planned, or they weren't sent invitations saying, "Hey, we found Sauron's ring. Can you show up and we'll talk about it?"
Yeah, they were still just trying to get the ring. It's almost
kind of destiny brought them all together there at that one moment.
Now, what I do think happened, and I don't know that this is actually mentioned here in the book or where we would hear this, but I think, let's say Gloin, shows up earlier than Boromir.
Yeah.
And Elrond says,
Stick around.
stay. We need to hear. People need. There's going to be a great council, and also Elrond has foresight and things.
Yes,
he can see that there's need here, and he can see the threads coming together.
There's also no clocks in Rivendell. So you don't know what day it is.
Yeah.
You lose track of time. So maybe they just stay anyway.
Right.
You don't even have to. It doesn't take much convincing.
Right. So anyways, So Boromir is a man from the south. He arrived in the gray morning and seeks for counsel. I have bidden him to be present, for here his questions will be answered.
Man,
he's a big deal.
Yeah, he is.
Now, I thought this was kind of cool. Not all that was spoken and debated in the council need now be told.
Yeah.
And that blows my mind, because what else were they talking about?
It sounds to me almost like they just kind of open up some small talk, right? They talk about what's going on in the world outside.
But I wonder if Legolas, I wonder if Legolas gave a report on how things are going in Mirkwood and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
I wonder.
I know he does later on, but I just wonder in the beginning stage, everyone's.
I kind of wonder introductions too. How did they do that? Did Elrond go around and introduce everyone? Did they have to do that? I mean, because Frodo didn't know most of these people. I mean, I guess they would have met maybe the night prior or something like that. But the way he described,
he does say that. He says that he did point out and name those who Frodo had not met before.
There you go.
So I think the ones he did know, he didn't point out.
Yeah.
Because Frodo seems like he's the one who comes in here at the last bit. Him
and Bilbo walk in. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Good point.
So now we get to Gloin. Okay, and his story and basically an update from the Lonely Mountain, and
catching up on what's happened.
What's going on over in Dale, what's happening to his people, and I think he talks about a couple things I've listed here. Just Balin going to Moria, the messenger from Mordor, Dane, and what he's dealing with as king under the mountain. Is it Bran? Is that the name of Bard's or the grandson who's ruling in Dale?
Is. Yep.
Is it? Okay, I couldn't see that. So let's dive into this a little bit. His story. I think it intrigues Frodo.
It is,
because this is a connection to Bilbo and the Hobbit and learning about what has happened in that region. And all these different. All this time has gone by.
And it's the follow up on the story he's heard so many times from Bilbo, right? His adventures. It's the part 2 of stories he grew up with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. So I'm gonna read a little bit of this here. So of these things, Frodo had already heard many rumors of. So they're talking about things that happened in as you said, the south and the east of the mountains. But the tale of Gloin was new to him. When the dwarf spoke, he listened attentively. It appeared that amid the splendor of their works of hand, the hearts of the dwarves of the Lonely Mountain were troubled. So, he goes on to kind of talk about this almost like a shadow or this feeling that sets in over them.
Yeah.
They tried to, I think they tried to create the armor of all. They tried to replicate what their forefathers had done. In their working of metal and stuff. And they really were not ever able to come back to, I don't know, they never got that, that same craftsmanship back or whatever.
Like there was something that was lost.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's see. Oh, okay. It is now many years ago that a shadow, of disquiet fell upon our people. Whence it came we did not first perceive. Words began to be whispered in secret. It was said that we were hemmed in a narrow place, and that greater wealth and splendor would be found in a wider world. Now, some spoke of Moria, right? The mighty works that had been done there, and I think there's this. Do you remember Balin talking about dragon sickness and it kind of consuming and how the gold and the treasure there under the mountain had been almost like tainted in this disease. I almost wonder if some of that some of that evil that was there from Smaug and another evil
like
at
residual
work. That was
energy
that was saying this is not enough. You need to go seek for more. You need more. Is it the dwarves themselves? Like the elves always accuse them of being very, wanting more and more, digging deeper and deeper and stuff. And so I just kind of, when I read that, I'm like, what?
See, and I wonder, like, if it isn't because the dwarves are their powerful adversary. So I wonder too if it isn't some sort of outside source putting that thought in there to try and divide them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Is that what you're thinking too? So try to keep them, from being in one place and strong to going after, going to try and reclaim Moria, which is a lost cause, and being weakened by losing some strong members of their kin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's just kind of, it's really sad, isn't it? To see, it's almost
it is sad.
Just to see how this, they're kind of like not getting picked on, but to see that, and it helps me because you think so much about these places where we are currently. And this is helpful to see that Mordor is reaching out to weaken or persuade or control every corner of Middle-earth. It's not just places we've been. It's not just in Bree. It's not just the Shire. It's every kingdom that could possibly be a threat to, or has previously been a threat to Mordor, going in different ways. And like, it's amazing too when we get to it here how they even use, they speak the dwarves' language, right? That messenger speaks the dwarves' language.
Absolutely, yeah.
We'll give you this because we know this is what you really crave and love if you decide to help us out.
Yeah.
It's not like we're going to come out, we're going to blow you away. We're not going to come in with an army and try and defeat you. No, we're going to entice you.
Right.
We're going to try to seduce you.
We're going to give you what you're looking for.
Exactly.
It is
an answer
strange
to that yearning that you've had.
Right, but I think the yearning, that whatever you want to call it, a dark spell or a power or an influence that comes over their hearts, causes Balin and I think it's Ori and Oin to leave, right? And to go. He takes a couple of their although Dane didn't really give them his consent to go, they up and go. So whatever that presence was that's making them feel this way, it has divided some of them, and they've gone to their deaths. Yeah. Okay. Yep. And the rest of them, though, that desire that they were whispering about, but Dane was strong enough to say, "We're not going. We're staying here." Yeah. Now they're tempted by a Black Rider. Yeah. A messenger from Mordor has come essentially and has offered them what that longing had set. Does that make sense? It's sort of like the longing was there, and then for years, and maybe it set there because I think it says
30 years.
Yeah,
they were gone 30 years. Yeah.
They hadn't had any news, right? Yeah. Actually, there for a while they had news, right? It seemed.
Then there was silence. No word has ever come from Moria since.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and the horseman, that comes to them, this Black Rider.
Man, just chilling too.
It is. Yeah. Well, and it is. Just to kind of think to the power in which we know these Black Rider power, right? That they could possess,
and also just the boldness of going to them too.
Yeah, dude.
It's like we tried to lure you away by getting you to go to Moria. Not enough of you went, right? We want to get the rest of you too, so we're going to come to you. Yeah, and we're going to come in the guise of wanting your help, wanting your allegiance. Man, it's just so crazy.
Right. Yep. Now, so he's asking actually about concerning hobbits, right? He asked urgently.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's right.
Right.
Duh.
Of what kind they were and where they dwelt.
Yeah.
For Sauron knows, he said, that one of these was known to you on a time. Yep. Holy smokes. Right. He's got his spies and he's got his peeps everywhere, So that's a little scary.
Yeah, it is.
And it's surprising to me that it's not surprising, I guess. I wonder how the dwarves, after Bilbo leaves and stuff, and they talk about taking back, the Lonely Mountain and destroying, Smaug and the Battle of the Five Armies and all that stuff, how they viewed and looked upon Bilbo and his contribution to the dwarves. Yeah. One hobbit and what he did to help them be more united and to take back some of their riches and their wealth and things. There were other treasures, there in the mountain that were grand. It wasn't just the Arkenstone and things. So
he helped them reclaim their home.
Exactly.
Not even just the treasures, but the actual place that they had longed for.
Well, and so I think thinking about that, it makes sense why they didn't just tell him right off who who this hobbit was, right? And what give them all the details about hobbits and who they are and things.
Yeah, right.
I think so. Let's see. At this, so once they hear that message, they're greatly troubled. We gave no answer, and then his fell voice was lowered. Yeah, and
he would have sweetened it if he could.
Right. As a small token only of our friendship, Sauron asked this. He said, that you should find this thief. Such was his word, and get from him, willing or no, a little ring, the least of rings, that once he stole. Man. So he knows a lot. In that conversation alone,
he does.
Sauron has learned a lot from our friend Smeagol.
Isn't it interesting? Yeah, isn't it interesting too the use of the word thief?
Yes,
right.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's what Gollum called him.
Yeah, but also I'm thinking like that was his job.
Yes.
Yeah, he was the burglar.
Yes.
It's funny. It's like
and that's why Bilbo doesn't always tell the true story.
Yeah,
he never liked being called a thief necessarily.
Right.
That he stole something. No, he didn't steal it. I mean, it was, and maybe that was some of the ring working on him, and that he needed to believe that it was just his.
Yeah,
he didn't steal it. It's mine. I found it. It came to me.
Yeah,
type of thing. So as a small token of your friendship, we read that. Let's see. They want to get the ring. It was but a trifle that Sauron fancies, and in earnest of your goodwill, find it, and 3 rings that the dwarf sires possessed of old shall be returned to you, and the realm of Moria shall be yours forever. Holy smokes!
Yeah, big deals.
Now the difference is though, find only news of the thief, whether he still lives and where, and you shall have great reward, lasting friendship from the Lord. Refuse, and things will not seem so well. Do you refuse?
Yeah.
So he kind of sets it up to where, get the ring, and we'll give you 3 rings that were lost of old. Now, I think the other 4 were destroyed, right?
Yeah.
In some way, or I'm unclear. I think
can't. Yeah.
I think they were. I think they were either lost or destroyed in some way.
Yeah.
And 3 were reclaimed by Sauron.
Yeah.
Right. And so
that
he's willing to give those back because once he has the one ring, he can supposedly have dominion over them, although it didn't affect them like he thought that it would originally.
Right. And think about how tempting this would be for Dane too.
Yeah.
The promise of getting Moria back.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like that's a pretty sweet deal. And they talk about his, as much as they love Bilbo in that moment, I'm sure that was, it caused him to say neither yes or no. I'm not going to give you information. Exactly. I'm not going to not give you information.
Yeah, he's pretty stubborn. He's pretty, and dwarves are, and he's the ruler, right? So,
and also, he talks. I might have to, consider this message.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe he's unsure too. Maybe he's even tempted a little bit there. He's thinking, I don't know. Let me think about it. And it could be a device to get him to leave.
It was, I think.
Yeah. Or maybe he's facing some kind of temptation himself. I don't know, man.
He might have. We don't know much about it, honestly.
Right.
So, So anyways, ever since that conversation, right, they're all kind of dealing with this and what do we do? And they haven't heard anything from Moria, and so
they're craving the advice of Elrond.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's why Gloin, is sent. And he starts to kind of talk about, and so I have been sent at last by Dane to warn Bilbo that he is sought by the enemy and to learn, if may be, why he desires this ring, the least of rings.
Right.
We crave that advice. So I thought it was neat that they're actually coming to warn Bilbo and seek the advice.
Yeah.
Because if anything, if they are going to answer, the messenger, at least they would have given a warning beforehand.
Yep.
And so that way they could kind of protect themselves,
right,
and have Bilbo warned their friend and done right.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I thought they were, going for. So let's see.
He also talks about the threat of if Mordor can't get them, they're afraid that they might move to King Brand.
Where is that at? Yeah.
The enemy may move men of his rule to assail King Brand and Dane also. So they're talking about like other men that, that Sauron has control and influence with that he might use to attack them.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So they don't want war.
That King Brand may yield, right?
Yeah.
and that already war is gathering on his eastern borders.
Right.
So if they make no answer, the enemy may move, men of his rule to assail King Bran and Dane also.
Yeah.
So so there's definitely some turmoil going on there. So Elrond really just kind of comforts them and says, you've done well. We're going to answer these questions.
Yeah.
It's neat too that I like that there's this passing off here, right? You've got Gloin and then his son Gimli.
Mm-hmm.
And Gloin is the one speaking and talking and sort of like in that role. And we get that. And then later going forward, we have Gimli.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
It's this passing on of
in the same way of Bilbo and Frodo.
Yeah. Type of thing. Yeah. So pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's see. What does Elrond say to him here?
He says to him, "You'll hear today all that you need to understand. There is naught that you can do other than to resist, with hope or without it.
That's right.
But you do not stand alone. You will learn that your trouble is but part of the trouble of all the Western world. The ring. What shall we do with the ring? The least of rings, the trifle that Sauron fancies. That is the doom that we must deem."
Yeah.
Pretty much saying, hey, we're all in this together, man.
Yep.
And this is the answer is, what to do with this ring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to get into that, Elrond, this is now his part, and he needs to tell his story.
Yeah.
And it is the Sauron and the Rings of Power, a story from the Second Age, right? And so the Last Alliance, he kind of goes over,
this is the prologue in the films.
Yeah. So he kind of discusses Arnor and Gondor, the kingdoms, the North and South kingdoms of men, uniting with the elves, Gilgalad, right, and their High King, and fighting off Sauron, type of situation. So
it's a great alliance.
He goes into some pretty heavy details here.
Yes, he does.
So you ready for this?
Let's get into it, man.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
I kind of wanted to just go over real quick for context, like the some of the different names here. So you've got Elendil, right? The Tall, and Ez is finally starting to learn how to pronounce some of these names here. Thank you, Tolkien Gateway.
That's right, man.
So with his sword Narsil, and I'm still saying Gilgalad, whatever. The king of the elves, right? And his spear. I thought I pulled out like the idea that one had a sword, one had a spear. Yeah. Right, and they each had sort of like meaning behind their name. Yeah. Remember we looked that up a little bit. Like Narsil was sort of like it had like it talks about its light and
the sun and the moon.
Yeah. And sort of what it meant.
And almost like we were trying to figure out, we still need to find the answer. If you know the answer, share it with us, please. But like that there's this, when it was forged, that there was some sort of light that was captured within it, right? We talk about, you pointed out, when the sword's broken, that there's this light that leaves it and goes out of it. And then when it's reforged, Aragorn gives it the name Anduril, which means flame of the west. So that light coming back. Yeah. Super interesting. I don't know the details. Right. If someone does, please share it with us, because that's so. I had never caught that before. The light goes out of the sword. Yeah, that it goes out. Yeah. I mean, this sword was forged in the First Age, right? Yeah. So it's got some other properties to it. Yeah, it is a magical. Like, yeah, for sure. Doesn't it? I mean, because one of the things that Elrond talks about. So when he talks about these two, the uniting of the men and the elves, and those two weapons, he actually calls them by name. I think the spear is called, is it Aiglas? Yeah. Aiglas, got it right. Got it, baby. Thanks. And that name kind of like, we looked this up, obviously, talks about it being like an icicle type of thing. Like Snowthorn icicle is what it translates to in the Sindarin. Okay. Yeah. So that's pretty neat, but anyways, the sword and the spear that are kind of like united, like when Elrond's telling his story, he's like reminiscing about the banners flying and these great men, and elves who stood side by side. Yeah. He's really
remembering and relishing and just thinking about how awesome it was.
Yeah.
You know? And so he talks about right here. He says, let me find it real quick. For the spear of Gil-galad and the sword of Elendil, Aiglas and Narsil, none could withstand.
Yeah.
And I just thought it's cool that he pulls out those two characters and mentions their weapons.
Yeah.
To me, that was neat. I had never really thought much about their weapons and that perhaps they were endowed with more power than we realized.
Absolutely.
So,
we learned more about Anduril later on, like the significance of. Well, I'm thinking about we're skipping way ahead to the Paths of the Dead.
That's okay.
Right, the power it has to command that army.
Yep.
That was, betrayal. That was betrayal done to Elendil. It wasn't even had nothing to do with. I mean, it had something to do with Aragorn in terms of his ancestry. Yeah. But that sword was what tied that oath back to him.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, man. Like, it's. I don't know. It's mind blowing.
Yeah,
they're so important. Those weapons.
Right. Another thing too that I thought was neat. When you think about the two kingdoms of the men, Arnor and Gondor, and Elendil, right, having two sons, Isildur and Anarion.
Yep.
Those are the brothers. Anarion is actually killed. Right, he's actually killed with his father Elendil. Like they fall in the battle with Sauron, and Isildur is the one who takes up his father's, sword Narsil, and is able to cut off the ring of power, from Sauron's hand. But anyways, those two brothers, their descendants, right? One rules the Northern Kingdom, which is like Arnor, and the other one, his descendants rule, air quote here, Gondor. And I didn't realize that actually you had like a high king, and then you had at some point when there's a division between the two kingdoms, you have the title of just king is given there in Gondor.
Yeah.
So
this is fascinating. This is stuff I didn't know. I had never heard before, and it was. I mean, I knew that Arnor was also that kingdom of men, but I had no idea the significance of them being tied that way.
Yeah.
And then the concept of high king and king. That was so cool.
Yeah, because we were talking about the stewardship, right?
Right. And we were like, how does that factor in? Like, where do they come from?
Right. And so I think we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But, just to kind of set up those two kingdoms, because they mention the Northern Kingdom a lot, and we've actually had that referenced multiple times leading up here to the council.
Right.
So,
and then the relevance it has is you have Aragorn, who is a descendant of the North Kingdom, and you've got Boromir. These two men that end up being in the Fellowship are representative of the North and the South.
Yep.
So that's also the importance, and also why there's some friction between them.
Well, I'll just say this because I get saturated sometimes with the movies, and
me too.
Aragorn to me always seemed like okay, well, he's a descendant from somebody from Gondor,
right?
And we always hold up Gondor as like the that was the kingdom of men. That was the real ruling body. No, it's just the one that survived.
Right.
Arnor actually is like destroyed. Its people are
infiltrated by the Witch King.
Yes, they are exactly
taken over,
and also their men. Their armies are depleted because of they lost so many in the war versus Sauron.
Right.
And Mordor. So, it's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Cool. I know, epic.
So, as they're going on here, let's see. He's recalling the glory of the Elder Days.
Yeah.
So many great princes and captains were assembled, and this is Elrond again, telling this story. And yet not so many, nor so fair as when it's actually as when Morgoth's northern kingdom is broken. Yeah. It's called. It talks about it talks about the volcanoes. We looked this up. Thrangodurum or whatever it's called. And the elves.
The three peaks.
Whatever that's called. And the elves deemed that evil was ended forever, and it was not so. That's a first age reference.
Yes.
So really,
is it Thangorodrim? Thangorodrim.
Good job, man.
We'll just go with that.
Good job. But he's kind of saying that he's recalling this glory of Elder Days, right?
Yeah.
And he says that there were, that there haven't been this many great princes and captains assembled, Since that time of the first age.
Right.
And so it was the great battle of the second age. Yeah. Type of thing. It was the end all be all there.
Yeah. Sort of. In a
those
lot
are
of ways,
what ends the age. Those are the battles that end those ages.
Right. The third age begins after the ring is. Yeah. So and it's also. I mean, you talk about the foresight of Elrond, and I'm sure he sees that what's coming will parallel and resemble what was before.
Yeah.
So he's seeing that as well, seeing like this is the beginning of, a new alliance that will of men.
Yeah.
That will ultimately, be faced against Mordor.
Yeah.
It's just like it's coming full circle. It's coming back again.
It is.
History is repeating itself.
Yeah, and I think that's why he gets caught up in this, situation. Now Frodo says, "You remember all that?"
Right? Isn't that crazy?
He's like, but I thought that was a long time ago, and
he's like stammering.
Yeah,
but I thought that the fall of Gil-galad was a long age ago.
Yeah,
well, it was.
It was, and Elrond talks about that. And you want to talk about some of his descendants and who he's...
Yeah, I've got a big heart next to that. So I usually just like when I have passages that are lengthy and I put a big heart next to them because I just want to remember to try and read those when we share. So he says, so it was indeed, answered Elrond gravely, but my memory reaches back even to the elder days. Arendil was my sire, who was born in Gondolin before its fall. And my mother was Elwing, daughter of Dior, son of Luthien of Doriath. I've seen 3 ages in the west of the world, and many defeats, and many fruitless victories. I was the herald of Gil-galad and marched with his host. I was at the battle of Dagorlad before the Black Gate of Mordor, where he had the mastery. For the spear of Gil-galad and the sword of Elendil, Aeglas and Narsil, none could withstand. I beheld the last combat on the slopes of Orodruin, where Gil-galad died and Elendil fell, and Narsil broke beneath him. But Sauron himself was overthrown, and Isildur cut the ring from his hand with the hilt shard of his father's sword and took it for his own.
Yeah. Yeah, so he ties in all of his his connection back to the First Age and the fall of Gondolin.
I mean, the dude's seen it all. He's seen it all. Right. And he's really kind of showing. I mean, he's demonstrating for Frodo how old he is, why he's so important. Mm-hmm. All of these important historical figures that he's connected to and descended from.
Yep.
It's like, and with Frodo's knowledge, he knows what he's talking about. He's not going, okay, and Luthien was and Arendil, like sometimes we are,
right?
We're hobbits. We're like, oh crap, now which one was that? I got to go back and look.
Because he's heard those stories.
Right. And Frodo's going, holy crap,
holy smokes, yeah,
this dude. Wow, you are big time, Elrond.
Right.
And he's fully realizing that.
Yeah. And this is the point. I think what Boromir was it's interesting how stories, how things have passed down, and who remembers what. And it is almost some things are written down. Gandalf gets into his story of things that were written down, written records that he could go back and reference. Yeah. But the story of how the ring actually is not destroyed and is taken to the Gladden Fields, and the battle and the what happened there to Isildur is actually told word of mouth by 3 men survived that whole bit. But anyways, Boromir kind of jumps in and is talking about, he wants to know, so that's what become of the ring. If ever such a tale was told in the South, it has been long forgotten. He's heard of that great ring of power, and he who wore it and shouldn't be named, right?
Yeah.
But he believed that it had perished in the world, in the ruin of the first realm.
Yeah.
And so he thinks it's been destroyed.
Yeah.
And I think now, hearing that, I'm guessing they're starting to get the feel here that we're talking about this ring, and maybe perhaps it's nearby, and we could use it.
Right. He says that is tidings indeed.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Now something interesting. He says, alas, yes, Sodor took it, and he says basically that he didn't cast it into Mount Doom.
Yeah.
As he was encouraged, and but few marked what Isildur did. He alone stood by his father in the last mortal contest, and Gil-galad only Círdan stood, and I. So that was kind of neat for me just to hear that Elrond and did I say it right?
Yeah.
Círdan. Jeez. You know, that they were standing by this great, you know.
Well, that's another movieism too. Is right. It's just Elrond. In the films, we just see Elrond because Círdan isn't really, I guess, necessary for the films. But yeah. So it's interesting to see that those two are there,
and that he really looked up to him. He was, I mean, they sing songs about this king. He was a great king. Like these men and elves will never see the like again.
And it almost makes what Isildur did even worse. That it wasn't just Elrond convincing him, where he could be like, yeah, whatever, Elrond. Right. It was two.
Right.
It was two very powerful individuals that were saying, man, we should probably destroy this thing.
I think you looked this up, and I'm not remember. Maybe you just knew this, but is Círdan, is he not one of the other holders of the one of the three Elvish rings?
Yeah, he is. He's the third. It's now I think it's Elrond.
Okay.
Galadriel and Círdan.
Yeah, okay.
We've done a lot of research, guys. So we know Galadriel is one.
Know.
Yeah, we looked up it's just some background because we didn't know a lot about Círdan.
No.
Círdan. I love saying that name. Círdan. and I believe the other one's Elrond. But double check us on that. Those are the three. Well, you know what? Crap.
Go ahead and check it.
Keep reading. I'm going to check it because that's going to bother me.
Doesn't Gandalf at one point get involved with that whole business?
You know what?
I don't know. Anyways, okay. So, you're going to have to say this for me. So what does he call the, he says that I will have this, he's talking about the ring. Isildur says.
Oh, yeah. I'll have this as a weregild. And I had to look that up because I was like, I'm not really sure what that is. It was just like, it's an old Anglo-Saxon term, I believe. That was, yep, I'm glad we looked this up because I was wrong about that, the rings.
Okay.
No, we were right in a way. Okay, anyway, a weregild was like, I'm going to catch it on fire. Blow up the instrument. Yeah. Okay, my instruments are down. Sorry, Butterbur mode. So a weregild was just pretty much like when someone was lost, someone died, you were given this gift or paid this. It's almost like a kind of like an inheritance, sort of like a grievance package or something. So anyway, he just lost his brother and his dad, and he was like, the ring will, make up for that loss.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. Okay, so the three elven rings. The rings, Vilya and Narya went to the elven king Gil-galad, okay, who entrusted Vilya to Elrond and Narya to Círdan. And then wait a minute.
You can keep digging on it.
Because Galadriel has Nenya.
Okay.
Okay. So those are the three.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my gosh, Gandalf does have one.
That's what I thought.
Holy crap,
That's what
dude.
I thought. I wasn't sure.
See, elves, you're so confusing, you elves.
You elves. Well, okay. You can spend some more time on that. I'll keep moving us on ahead here.
Gandalf has the one that belonged to Círdan.
That's what I thought.
So it's Elrond, Gandalf.
Yeah.
Galadriel.
But we'll talk about when he, possesses it and things like that. I think is important. Or
it possesses him. Just kidding.
No, yeah.
They're outside of that. Yeah.
But anyways, so Isildur doesn't listen to their counsel. He doesn't destroy the ring. He takes it to, with him, and only to the north did these tidings come, and only to a few. Small wonder it is that you have not heard of them, Boromir. From the ruin of the Gladden Fields, where Isildur perished, 3 men only came ever back over the mountains.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. And I believe in our digging, some of Isildur's sons, he had 4, 3 were killed with him. And the youngest one was actually still in Rivendell. And that's why they make back with the shards of Narsil, right? And that blade. Taking it back and tidings that he's been killed, and the new heir to Arnor is his youngest son. So man, some crazy stuff, right? Let's see what else here. Oh, I like this part that they say, but Narsil was broken and its light extinguished. Again, they bring this idea that it's light being extinguished. And
it's almost like it this could be way off, but it's sort of it's broken in the same way that this line has kind of been broken. You know, Isildur has kind of, the light has gone out of Isildur, and this line of kings is sort of corrupted. Mm-hmm. And it mirrors that.
It is, and it even the light kind of fading and being extinguished, right? He talks about the Númenóreans, right, and how ever since this time, you know, when all these great men had been lost, you know, that the race of Númenor has decayed. Their span of years has lessened.
Yeah, even their lifespan. That's true. Yeah.
You know, so now he goes on to kind of talk more about what happens in the north and in the south. So it's 2 paragraphs back to back.
Yeah.
You know, in the north, after the war and the slaughter of the Gladden Fields, the men of Westerness were diminished. It talks about their cities, their capital city there, you know, fell into ruin. The heir of, is it
Valandil?
Valandil, you know, removed and dwelt in Fornost on the high north downs. You know, it just kind of talks about how there's this. Actually, there ends up being a division between Arnor and Gondor, which we mentioned earlier.
Just an overall just kind of desolation in the north.
Yeah, they're just dwindling, and we talked about some of their losses from the war. You know, and their foes are devouring them. You know, their lordship passed, leaving only green mounds and the grassy hills. It's a kingdom that gets lost, right? Essentially, and then really you just have the Rangers. You've got it dwindles all the way down to, you know, just you know, some of
these outcasts,
like the outcasts. But the line is there. And the men of the north, you know, are still fighting and still plugging along more than we realize. Actually, well, Aragorn brings that up later on.
And something else we realized too through the hobbits is and through Frodo, right, is it's not common knowledge that the Rangers are the descendants of that great kingdom. That's not something that's widely known. So to the most of the world, that kingdom is fallen and there's nothing left. You know what I mean?
Right. In Osgiliath, you know, in Gondor, the opposite happens with its capital. It grows, right? And for a while it prospers. You know, I believe the son of Anarion, right, which was Isildur's brother, who's kind of like the lord. I call him like lord / king. He wasn't. I don't know if he was a king yet at that time in Gondor, but kind of is the lord of Gondor, and he has a son. You know, Meneldil is, I think, the name of his son. And
I'm trying to find it.
And he basically, you know, is the one through his line.
Meneldil.
You know, the rule of Gondor, you know, passes through his line. You know, as we mentioned earlier. So there's a whole lot in here, and I don't know it well enough. Maybe Lane does. You know, about you know, Minas Tirith and Minas Anor.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because they talk about through the line of Meneldil, the son of Anarion, that the tree starts to wither, and that's when those prosperous times start to fade away, right? It says the blood of the Númenóreans became mingled with that of lesser men. Then the watch upon the walls of Mordor slept. So they did. You're right. They did have this kind of flowering where they even planted the white tree and it did flower, and then they kind of not fell asleep, but you know, they let their guard down a little bit, and dark things start to creep back in and take Mordor back. Minas Ithil. Oh my gosh, I can't. Give me 1 second here because I remember. Because
I know there's this.
I just want to get it right.
There's sort of this changing of. Like at one point we were confused by like the changing of names.
Yes. Right? So Minas Ithil is the one that falls. It becomes Minas Morgul. Which is sort of
sorcery.
They were these two sister cities, Minas Ithil and Minas Anor, and then Minas Anor that becomes Minas Tirith.
Gotcha.
Is what we know now. So, that's how those names change.
Yeah, maybe we can get into more, and we'll do some more digging as to why. I know one was overtaken, and so Minas Morgul is like that's a sounds bad in and of itself, and that it's been overtaken there,
becomes a tower of sorcery and is like claimed by Mordor.
But then Minas Anor was being renamed Minas Tirith Okay. The reason it's renamed that is Okay, the Tower of Guard. Yep. Okay, so they just renamed it because it had a different purpose, essentially.
Yeah, these two cities are always fighting, and Osgiliath is the poor one that's left in the middle, and it becomes like this battleground, and that's why its splendor is lost. And you hear in the movie anyway, you hear Boromir talking about, he gives that speech in the Two Towers. Yeah. And he's in Osgiliath and talking about restoring it to its former glory of the beautiful city it used to be. Yeah. And so that's kind of why we see that. That's why it's so torn apart, is it's the battleground. It's in between those two. Gotcha. Yeah. Those two cities that used to be, all belong to Gondor, are now two opposing forces. So crazy, man. Yeah, just this overall theme of decay and breaking down and just weakness.
Okay, so I'm going to really show my ignorance here, but
we're hobbits. That's what we do.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
So Minas Tirith,
yes,
is what we see in like in the film.
Yes, the seven tiers. Yeah. City, the White City.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm just I'm trying to figure out.
I know, dude. It's a lot to wrap. I know it's a lot.
Well, and so they're still fighting over Osgiliath. Yeah. That's where Faramir is trying to retake, right?
Yes,
that's where. Okay.
Yes, sir. That's
I think I had those names in my head sometimes. Sometimes I had them reversed back in the day, but
it's like there's a lot of names or something. It's like we should play, I don't know, a name game. I'm not really sure. I mean, it's like we should have.
I didn't think we'd
crying out loud. It's like we should. I don't know. Maybe
start a podcast of some kind.
Is that?
Do we have to? Do we have to start a podcast?
What do you guys think? Should we?
We could.
Should we start a podcast?
Yeah, I think we should. We gotta come up with a good name, though, don't we?
Well, it's all in the name, really.
Dude, I tell you what, man. These names just get better and better
every single time,
and I got to give you a lot of credit for that. So
now, if we could just get, I don't know, like our lead song to pop up without an ad.
Good grief! Well, this is what happens when I let you, sit over there with the electronics. Good grief!
Magic. Our smoothest name game yet. As we should make a podcast.
I don't know if we should after the debacle that just took place.
Hey, the white tree will flower once more. Okay?
Okay.
What do you have? Any ideas?
Let's see. What? Valinor podcast?
Valor or Valinor?
I
think that's pretty good.
Okay.
You know what? Kirdon podcast.
Kirdon.
Like we're just done.
Shart of Narsil podcast.
I like that one.
Yeah.
That one has my vote.
Okay.
But not quite there yet, are we?
No. Nope, we're not. We're not. Don't let the mugworts get you down. I'm sorry. Sometimes Lane puts things in here and he thinks I'm not going to read them in the doc, and I'm going to read them just to kind of.
Are you Ron Burgundy?
Yeah, I am. Okay. So where were we? We were talking about the cities, right? I think it's actually. I think we've talked about those enough, and I think honestly,
maybe even too much.
Yeah, but it is nice to kind of start to wrap your head around.
Yeah,
because these are going to be referenced a lot more.
Yeah.
Going forward,
and it's telling the shift in power and how why we find them the way they are now.
Well, and you start to understand why Boromir and Aragorn interact the way that they do later on, and the just it makes it that much more bittersweet. I think when we get their interaction at the end of this book.
And I think also you get, because some of this starts to come out with Boromir of, like his experience with evil has been much more personal than maybe anyone else there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? They're on the doorstep. They've fought off Mordor day in and day out. It's only because of them that Mordor has been kept, at bay for so long.
Well, that's exactly what he says. That leads us right into his...
There's a lot of resentment towards all the other peoples of, Middle Earth. So,
Yeah, you're exactly right. So he actually says that to Elrond. Give me leave to speak more on Gondor, because that's where he's come from.
Yeah.
Believe not that in the land of Gondor the blood of Numenor is spent, nor all its pride and dignity forgotten.
Yeah.
So again, the blood is mixed, as we talked about, but it's still there, and they're still very proud of that connection that they have, right? And it's basically they're the ones who are standing and keeping the terror of Morgul at bay, and that they're keeping the peace and freedom, maintained in the lands behind them.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of keeping all of Mordor and its evil at bay.
Yep.
And constantly, at war with them.
Yeah.
And
they're bearing that burden constantly.
Right. Yeah. And so, they talk. He mentions the nameless enemy, has arisen again. Smoke rises again, from Mount Doom, and the power of the Black Land grows, and we are hard beset. And I think so. He's kind of coming here, one, to mention that, probably to bring this up, but the real reason he has come is actually a dream that he and his brother had. Correct. I mean, that's like they have this dream.
Yeah.
So in this evil hour, I've come on an errand over many dangerous leagues to Elrond. 110 days I've journeyed all alone, but I do not seek allies in war. Interesting.
Right.
They put it on their back. They've got it.
Right.
They feel like they can keep continuing.
After he just explained how they could really actually use some help.
Well, yeah.
He's like, we don't really. It's not why I came here. I didn't come here for you to feel sorry for us or send more help. Right. Yeah, I need.
But if you want to, sure,
come lend us a hand.
We'll take it.
Right.
Well, and actually, Aragorn mentions too. We've not been idle over here, friend. We've been doing some work. Yeah. And I think if Boromir knew what was happening in Rohan, and knew what was happening there, as we get the story later on, I think he starts to realize, okay.
Yeah.
So the enemy is also behind us.
Yeah, right.
What we thought was safe territory behind us is actually
there's a new enemy. Yeah, and there's a new enemy. Right. Well, the
enemy has spread north. From east, so from the southeastern position up north, and it's actually that's where Dane and his folk are actually getting some pressure from. And
I'm thinking there's the enemy is influencing someone who used to be good.
Yeah,
that's
true.
right behind him.
Right behind him, exactly.
Yeah, and that's where that's
now
coming
a different enemy didn't know necessarily, because right now, as Gandalf will explain later, those two are not allied in their powers or their pursuits.
Yeah,
they kind of are, but So I've come to seek counsel, and the unraveling of hard words. For on the eve of the sudden assault, a dream came to my brother in a troubled sleep, and afterwards a like dream came oft to him again, and once to me. In that dream I thought the eastern sky grew dark, and there was a growing thunder, but in the west a pale light lingered, and out of it I heard a voice, remote but clear, crying. Dude, I just got chills. I'm sorry. I'm like reading this. I'm like being dead serious. I just really got chills. Good, I know. Because like that image, right? It's just so well written.
Yeah.
Thinking about that pale light that's lingering, this hope. In the West.
And that word choice too of lingering.
Yeah. So
that's beautiful.
You want to read this here? This is him, the voice that spoke to him.
Yeah. Seek for the sword that was broken, in Imladris it dwells. There shall be counsels taken, stronger than Morgul spells. There shall be shown a token that doom is near at hand. For Isildur's bane still waken, and the halfling forth shall stand.
Jeez.
It's loaded.
It's loaded. And really,
gosh, it's just. I mean, you could break this down line for line.
Okay. All right.
You want to make a podcast?
I want to make a podcast, and I want to. And here's the thing, and I want to call it an unexpected podcast, if that's okay. Here's the thing. So, think about this for a second. Yeah. What was it that sent him? What is this voice? What is this?
Whose voice is it?
What power at work is you know what I mean? Who's influencing his dreams?
Yeah.
Who's giving Frodo the dreams that he's having?
And why was it given to Faramir multiple times, but just Boromir once?
Oh yeah, I think that's huge. I think that's very telling in who in their character and who they are
and who acted on it. The one who heard it once. Isn't that interesting?
Well,
we learn more about that. Yeah,
we do.
Right. You're right.
Well, it's okay though. But yeah, you're right. I think there's more to that, which we'll get into. But anyways, the point is though, it does appear to us is his brother first, and he talks about it, and then it comes to him, again and again. They're wanting, they need. It's like they know one of those two. And again, this gets into our special draft we're going to have later on. About who could it have been? I mean, imagine if it would have been, Boromir's brother.
Yeah.
If Faramir would have, what would have came?
What would have happened?
What would have happened? How different would things have been? Because something was beckoning and calling to them.
Yeah.
One of them needed to come.
Yeah.
To this council and needed to be here to hear these things.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to me, like the power that was drawing them, and what that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, of these words, we could understand little. They spoke to their father, Denethor, right?
Yeah.
Lord of Minas Tirith, who's wise in the lore of Gondor, and he actually is the one who kind of tells them to seek Elrond out.
I mean, it even foretells about Frodo.
It absolutely does.
I'm just sorry. I don't know why I wasn't. I mean, I have it totally circled, but it's so interesting
Isildur's
to
Bane.
just stop. Yep.
Yeah, Isildur's Bane shall waken. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, oh my gosh, dude!
Because think about this.
Hit me like a sledgehammer. For him to have heard this in
a dream.
In a dream.
That's why you and I have been focused a lot on Frodo's dreams and the things that are happening to other characters in their dreams. It's almost a special magic and power that can happen in dreams that Tolkien has sort of like created here. It's a way in which I believe, that the influences from the West, that the Valar are influencing. They since the first day, or since actually their first war with Melkor, they cannot come back and fight these battles anymore. Right. That's why the Istari, the Maiar, are sent in a way in which they're lesser, and their powers wouldn't necessarily break the world like it did once before. And so I think they're influencing these characters' dreams and stuff, And it could be something else, though, because the more I dig into the histories and the creation of this world, there are things that not even that the Valar understand, especially concerning men. And then hobbits aren't even really mentioned at all.
No.
So like hobbits are this like enigma in and of themselves, to everyone, which is awesome. So
wow.
But
that's it for me. I'm going to bed. I'll see you later.
You calling it? Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Man, that's just, I don't know, it's blowing my mind.
Yeah. So they come seek, counsel, and here in the house of Elrond more shall be made clear to you, said Aragorn. Right? Standing up, he cast his sword upon the table that stood before Elrond, and the blade was in two pieces.
Yeah, just to clear this up, this portion of your dream. Here's the sword that was broken.
There it is.
Here it is.
Right.
Slam. And we're in Imladris. Right. So there you go.
Yeah.
And this is where...
Yeah, Boromir gets a little... who are you, and what do you have to do with Minas Tirith, right? And this is where they kind of talk about who Aragorn is and who... he's descended from.
Yeah.
And that he, through many fathers, is descended from Isildur.
Yeah.
Elendil's son.
And then Frodo says, "Then it belongs to you and not to me at all," cried Frodo in amazement, springing to his feet, as if he expected the ring to be demanded at once. And then Aragorn says, "It does not belong to either of us, but it has been ordained that you should hold it for a while."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Man. Yeah, I think again, Frodo.
Isn't that crazy too? I mean, I think like how easy it is for it just shows how good Aragorn is.
Yeah,
it was so easy for his ancestor to just take that ring and go, I lost my dad and brother. Cool, this will make up for it. This is something that's precious to me, right? As we learn later on that he talks about it that way. This ring, and Aragorn says, "Doesn't belong to me.
Yeah,
doesn't belong to either of us."
Right,
and Frodo expected him to almost say, "Yeah, I'll take it. I'll be the one to take it back and destroy it, or whatever, or use it, or whatever. I don't know." Mm-hmm. And he says, "It's yours. It's yours to carry for." I
also think Frodo might have heard the last bit of that dream.
Yeah,
and because he does speak up here,
right?
he chooses this time after hearing this dream, and that the halfling would stand, you know, you know, that the halfling shall or fourth shall stand, you know, and so he does, you know, and he sort of does, you know, I don't know if he stands, but he actually, you know, speaks up, and he's ready now to, like, he knows that this is his part to play. Right. Give it up.
Right.
Give it to this great council, and here it must go. He was trying to answer that in himself and say, here you go. It's yours, friend.
When that prophecy is much different, isn't it?
It is. So much different. Yeah. But you see, like, he took that angle with it. And he thought, because that's what I think, you know, Bilbo's good at answering riddles and figuring out dreams and things, and they like that kind of stuff, you know. And so Frodo thinks he has the answer. I think that, anyways. You know? That's my take on it.
Yeah, no, that's
and hops up to kind of give it up. But you know, Gandalf, you know, now says, "Bring out the ring. Time to bring that bad boy out." Yeah. You know, and the time has come. Hold it up, and then Boromir will understand the remainder of his riddle.
And this is so amazing too. Like, so all eyes turn to Frodo, obviously, and he's shaken by a sudden shame and fear. And he felt a great reluctance to reveal the ring and a loathing of its touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He wished he was far away. The ring gleamed and flickered as he held it up before them in his trembling hand. "Behold, Isildur's bane," said Elrond. Boromir's eyes glinted as he gazed at the golden thing. "The halfling," he muttered, "is then the doom of Minas Tirith come at last? But why then should we seek a broken sword?"
Can I just jump in real quick?
Get in here, baby.
One of the things, the second to last line in his dream, the voice that came to them, says, "For Isildur's bane shall waken." Mm-hmm. And to me, I think during this time, up to this point, they're just trying to get the ring from point A to B. Really don't know what they're going to do with it. Right. This whole council is about deciding what to do with the ring.
Yep.
Once they decide what to do, I think it becomes harder to manage, and it becomes a greater burden to bear. Yeah. It does awake, and it becomes heavier. Yep. Because they've decided what to do with it.
Right.
And at that point, now it has to start working even harder to get out of these hands.
Fight against that. Yeah, sure.
So
becoming heavier and heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they talk about, they go back to Minas Tirith and the doom and the great deeds, you know, are indeed at hand. For the sword that was broken is the sword of Elendil that broke beneath him when he fell. You know, it has been treasured by his heirs when all their heirlooms were lost. So basically, just talking more about the sword, and that the ring is actually Isildur's bane. Now that it's found, you know, this is something that, you know, Aragorn himself is going to, you know, attend to, you know, in a sense. Yeah. Now he asks the question. Now you have seen the sword that you have sought. What would you ask? Do you wish for the house of Elendil to return to the land of Gondor? So that makes more sense to me when we talk about the two sons, you know, and the line and how they were continued and things like that, and the High King versus, you know, the lords of Gondor in that southern kingdom, you know, and do they want to see someone like Aragorn, you know, come, you know, Isildur's.
It's almost as if he's asking for a blessing. He wants, you know what I mean? That's how I see it. It's rightfully his, but he, you know, will you receive me? Will you have me? Will you have this line come back?
Yeah, it is kind of crazy though, isn't it? That like that at one point the Northern Kingdom was the powerhouse. Yeah. You know, it was the stronghold.
Right.
You know, and it was the ruling body in a sense. And it's not the same now.
Yeah.
But this line that came from the north still is could make claim to Gondor. To that throne. But you're saying, wanting this to be a willing. Do you wish us, you know, for my line to return,
for those two
the sons of Elendil to come back together in a sense.
Yeah.
So
the redemption, right?
Yep, but you know, Boromir wasn't sent to beg any boon, just to seek the meaning of this riddle,
right?
You know, but you know they are hard pressed, and the sword of Elendil would be help beyond our hope.
Yeah.
You know, if such a thing could indeed return out of the shadow of the past. He looked again at Aragorn, and doubt was in his eyes. He just, you know, doesn't quite know what to think of this.
Yeah.
Not what he expected.
Right.
You know. So Frodo felt Bilbo stir impatiently. Evidently, he was annoyed on his friend's behalf. Frodo's close with Aragorn and doesn't like this. He can see the doubt in Boromir's eyes,
Yep.
And that's when he hops up and says, all that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. From the ashes a fire shall be woken. A light from the shadow shall spring. Renewed shall be the blade that was broken. The crownless again shall be king.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, I didn't know this either, that's of Bilbo's own.
Yeah. Right. He wrote this.
Hand, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So anyways, so he's standing up for him and kind of, makes a case for him and things. But, man, how long do they go on here with Aragorn and his story?
Yeah, a little bit here. I've got it all hard-eyed if you want me to read it.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you want to pull from it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is so interesting too. I mean, and this is where you can catch where they in the film especially created this tension between Aragorn and Boromir, right? That doubtful glance, and
right.
It's almost the way I see that too is it's like, yeah, come bring your sword if you think you can really, you've been up north, you're a ranger.
Yeah,
the real fight's down by us. If you really think you can,
right,
if you can, account for, being a strong force down with us. So, Aragorn smiled at him, then he turned to Boromir again. For my part, I forgive you your doubt, he said. Little do I resemble the figures of Elendil and Isildur, as they stand carven in their majesty in the halls of Denethor. I am but the heir of Isildur, not Isildur himself, a line that gets given to Arwen, actually, in the films.
Yep.
I've had a hard life and a long one, and the leagues that lie between here and Gondor are a small part in the count of my journeys. I have crossed many mountains and many rivers, and trodden many plains, even into the far countries of Rhûn and Harad, where the stars are strange. But my home, such as I have, is in the north, for here the heirs of Elendil have ever dwelt in long line unbroken, from father unto son for many generations. Our days have darkened, and we have dwindled, but ever the sword has passed to a new keeper. And this I will say to you, Boromir, ere I end, lonely men are we, rangers of the wild, hunters, but hunters ever of the servants of the enemy, for they are found in many places, not in Mordor only. So he's making this point here. He's building that, I've been all over. I haven't just been in the north, obviously, but that even there, that there are servants of the enemy that I've had to fight as well. If Gondor, Boromir, has been a stalwart tower, we have played another part. Many evil things there are that your strong walls and bright swords do not stay. You know little of the lands beyond your bounds. Peace and freedom, do you say? The north would have known them little but for us. Fear would have destroyed them. But when dark things, and talking about even like the Shire is protected because of what the Rangers have done. Bree, we think about all these places that have relative peace because of what the Rangers have done. But when dark things come from the houseless hills or creep from sunless woods, they fly from us. Wow. They fly from us. Wow. What roads would any dare to tread? What safety would there be in quiet lands or in the homes of simple men at night if the Dunedain were asleep or were all gone into the grave? And yet less thanks have we than you. Travelers scowl at us, and countrymen give us scornful names. Strider I am to one fat man who lives within a day's march of foes that would freeze his heart or lay his little town in ruin if he were not guarded ceaselessly. Yet we would not have it otherwise. If simple folk are free from care and fear, simple they will be, and we must be secret to them. So that has been the task of my kindred, while the years have lengthened and the grass has grown. But now the world is changing once again. A new hour comes. Isildur's bane is found. Battle is at hand. The sword shall be reforged. I will come to Minas Tirith. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why I love Aragorn. I mean, it's amazing. And I think maybe this is too where we draw upon that whole idea of, for the film anyway, Aragorn being reluctant. Mm-hmm. He says, that we're glad to have it this way, to be scorned, to be unappreciated, to do all the dirty work and not have any recognition. We're fine with that. We as long as there are these people that live free in the North, it makes us happy. And so they take that and they kind of increase that within the Aragorn in the films and make it more of like a burden for him to step up and something he's unwilling to do. And it's not as strong here. It's like he's more saying the times have changed and it's time for me to step up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not that I'm reluctant to. It's now it's time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. When I think in recap of that, it's really Boromir comes out and says, here's what Gondor has done.
Right.
Made the case for the Southern Kingdom. Yeah. And then Aragorn steps up and makes the case for the Northern Kingdom. Yep. You know, and I think it's kind of cool. You know, they're both awesome. Saying that, you know, here's what we've done.
Yeah.
It's sort of they're a little, there's some bragging, tense. But they're, and really they're two kingdoms, two places, two groups of people that haven't really talked and don't really know each other anymore and don't know the role that the other one plays. Everyone kind of seems more isolated, don't they? Yeah. You know, they do seem more isolated. It seems like the elves are more connected and have messengers and things and know what's going on in the world. And the wise are super connected. But like, you know, Dane and his folk don't really know what's going on.
Right. Elsewhere. Which is exactly how the enemy wants it.
Yeah. That's why, and it's why this council is needed. Yeah. Right. Type of thing. So, you know, just to kind of wrap into Bilbo's story and finish this, basically, Boromir says, you know, I've seen that bright ring in the halfling's hand, but Isildur perished ere, you know, this age. So he basically says, how do the wise men know that this is his ring? Yeah. You know, how's it been passed down? And so Elrond says that's a story that will be told. Yeah. And we're going to talk about that. And to do that, you know, Bilbo pipes in, but not yet, I beg, master. Already the sun is climbing to noon, and I feel the need of something to strengthen me. You know, but, you know, Elrond kind of smiling, like, you know, it's almost like, I wonder if Bilbo was being serious there. You know, if he's,
he's trying to cut the tension, isn't he?
Well, or,
you think? I think he's using his humor.
Using his humor, cut the tension, or it's about my time to speak, but let's put it all. Let's let the suspense build a little bit. Let's take a break.
He is a showman, isn't he?
Let's take a break and then let me start the meeting off again when we're ready to go. You know, so he does tell his story, and he actually tells it very well. To some there, Bilbo's tale was wholly new. They listened with amazement while the old hobbit, actually not at all displeased, recounted his adventure with Gollum. And the neat part is he remembers every riddle. He tells it down. He's been writing his book. He tells it true. And he actually looks at Gloin to sort of say, if you've heard it another way, forgive me.
Right.
Because this is the truth.
Is the truth.
Yeah, and it was the only thing that's changed is really the ring. Right. It has to do with him finding it, not wanting to be called a thief and things like that and stuff. And that, you know, so he actually makes this quite long tale rather short, actually, and condenses it. And they tell him that it's well told, right? Yep. Not bad, Bilbo said to him. Oh, actually, so Frodo tells his story. Does he tell his story too? And then less willing than Bilbo. Yeah, Frodo told him all of his dealings with the ring. So the two hobbits kind of tell their stories, you know, and it's actually like, it's funny to me because, you know, Bilbo tells his story and shows Frodo how it's done. You know, here's how you tell a story, son, you know, and then once Frodo's done, he's like, it's good. Yeah. You did a good job. Not bad. Good job. You know, but you could have used a little of this, a little of that, but we'll work on it in the book.
Which is something that keeps coming up more and more. You know, he's the rest of this chapter and the next chapter too is saying, make sure you remember, you know, you won't have time to write it down probably. Make sure you remember it because we're going to write it down. You'll be the sequel. And
exactly. It's pretty cool.
It is cool.
You know, so, but, you know, and, you know, yes, it made quite a long tale, you know, Frodo mentions and talks about everything that had taken them up. He said there are whole chapters of stuff before you ever got here. You know, obviously it's great. It's a cool little, you know, breaking the, well, it wouldn't be the fourth. Well, it's kind of like breaking the whole, like talking about the book.
I know.
The book itself. It's funny.
Yeah, it is.
But anyways, the story though is not, it's not told. It's not all told. And there's pieces that Frodo needs to know the answers to. And so, you know, he says, I still want to know a good deal more, especially about Gandalf. And I think that
gaps to fill in there, isn't there?
I think that's where we'll kind of leave the discussion.
Wow.
Because there's actually more.
Yeah,
there's actually much more that Gandalf talks about. But I think my goal, and sorry if I just kind of went off this episode.
No, you dude, this is in your wheelhouse too. This is your bread and butter.
Well,
this is some of your favorite stuff. Favorite
flavors. But no, to me, I told Lane, I needed a better understanding of these two lines.
Yeah.
The heritage and what's at stake, the two kingdoms, and an understanding of the politics here and stuff and things that are going on. And I know I didn't do a great job of really
did a fantastic job
articulating that, because
yes, you did.
What we kind of do is I like to, you get the raw sort of reaction, like we pull out some passages and we kind of pick it apart and learn as we go. And so hopefully you get something out of that. And if you guys know more, we know there's a bunch of you guys who really are well versed in the histories. I would love to hear a lot of that stuff.
It's a ton of history we went through too. That's a lot of information. There's subtlety to all those stories. There's more to. I mean, even the North Kingdom tying into where we were of the Barrow Downs.
Yeah, you mentioned the Witch King and the whole thing.
The Witch King's there.
A lot of stuff happens.
There's we went over, like an age and a half of life. Thousands of years, and so I think you did a great job.
That's a lot to do, but
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think going forward next episode, as we finish that chapter out, guys, it'll be much more straightforward.
Yeah,
because we kind of stay in this age.
This was a lot of this, and this was a lot of. We talked about it before too. Gandalf talks about a lot of this stuff way back in the Hobbit hole.
He does,
way back in Bag End.
Yeah,
and so this is just more of almost like a first person account of. I was here. We heard these stories from Gandalf, who wasn't there.
Yeah. And
now we're hearing them from Elrond, who was there. He fills in all these details. He tells us the pertinence and the importance of it now.
Yeah.
Going forward, and why this is going to be a great challenge, and the importance of what we need to do with this ring. Because before then, we didn't really. Gandalf kind of alluded that it should be destroyed, but we weren't really told the fact that Elrond back in the day wanted it to be destroyed.
Yeah.
That he tried to make it happen.
Well, and here's the thing. So the one thing, if we talk about takeaways, and Landon and I have talked about doing this more after we've gone through the chapter, some takeaways. Because for me, what I took away from all of this is that Tolkien's actually like an underlying subtle lesson here is seeking out the source of information, talking to the people who are there, who witnessed it. Yeah. If you want to know something, go to that primary source.
Right.
And to hear, although Gandalf has told us a lot of this stuff, here are the people who have lived it.
Right.
Here are the people who, Elrond was there. He can recount for you. Need to hear it from him, and listen to the way in which he tells
their
it.
story to tell.
Exactly.
This is all about your story to tell.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can tell too when he's telling his story and remembering the elder days and those glory days. You can tell he's been there.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, he's been there.
Yeah, you're right. You're talking about you brought up the description of that march and the different groups of men and the banners and the
great princes. And
the descriptions of the weapons.
And,
It was a different flavor. It was more immersive.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I think that's what we need sometimes. I think a lot of times it's hearsay in our society.
Yeah.
We hear this, from social media, this person or that person, and things get lost in the telling.
And even history, right?
They do.
History is like it's this, I don't know, it doesn't live in the same way. You memorize, you memorize, occurrences that happen, the order they happen, and then you forget that they were real people living those events.
Yes.
Real feelings, real emotions, real sights and smells, and this helps.
Other influences. When I look and I studied, and I'm in history classes sometimes, I listen to our teachers, and I think our teachers do a good job from the district that I'm at in talking about the influences.
Yeah.
What influences those decisions? And you look at Dane in this chapter, and some of what he's facing as a ruler, and his decision making, and how Bilbo is so significant to them,
right,
that they would want to protect him, but then he has an obligation to
worry about his people too.
Right. And so some people could say, let's say he did make the decision later on down the line to tell this information, and people who weren't at the council didn't understand that Gloin had came, and tried to warn Bilbo, might think that Dane had betrayed, the Shire.
Yeah, right.
So things can
point
be
of view too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there's a little bit of that here. It's like we needed to all sit down across from one another, face to face, and talk.
And you're right. You were talking about this earlier, but the importance of that in our modern world.
Oh my God!
It's one of the reasons that I wish we both want to go meet as many of you uppers as we possibly can.
Absolutely,
because we're all uppers and we're all this group together, and then it's great the way we communicate. But how much cooler would it be to do it in person?
Yeah.
Right, to sit down at the same table, to look each other in the eye, to hear your point of view and your story from your words.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, one of the things we've talked about is we've talked about Tolkien is what he foresaw in technology. Yeah, and more than not, we abuse it. Yeah, but there are ways to use it. For good. Yeah. And bring light to dark places, and to communicate with people, to have this group to be influencing. You guys don't realize, maybe I haven't said this enough, that when I see something positive in the group, it has an impact on me. Yeah. And I feel better. I read it and I'm like, wow, that's uplifting. Yep. What Tolkien did here in his work, it being published, and that being sent around the world, has influenced so many people for generation after generation. That's why we're doing what we're doing, because it's such a darn good story, and it's got such good tales and lessons. And I just thought one of the things that I got from sitting around a table, or in a group talking to each other and catching up. That's what we do with friends. That's what we do with each other. And you tell me what's going on in this part of the world or this place, because we live here, in the United States, in Ohio, and I don't always know what's going on around the world, and I try to educate myself. But it's just interesting, isn't it, to think?
Well, and like we said, the point of view determines the story that's told. Yeah. Right. So to hear it from someone who's actually there is different from how we get a lot of information. So man, it's just he definitely addressed the importance of good, hearty, intimate conversation.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Wow. Yep. So
lessons all around, yeah.
Okay.
Good Lord.
Cool connections. We went over those.
Yeah, done.
Spread them throughout the chapter. We're going to dive into the Bywater Post here.
My gosh, man. Snowed under still.
We are. Actually, thank you to everyone who has sent us emails at anunexpectedpod@gmail.com. That's anunexpectedpod@gmail.com. Thank you, Lane. And we've got over like 15 of those right now. So, I mean,
10 to 12. 10 to 12.
What did I say earlier? Is that what I said? Whatever. I can't count.
No, you were just, it was hilarious. Like how many are in the inbox?
Well, I started to count and I just,
it's at least 10. It might be 12.
It might be 15. Okay. So I didn't actually count all of them. I looked, I was like, oh, okay, I see about a couple more. Okay. you just tail off, and
oh, it's funny.
Okay, I can't count. That's what you're saying. I got it.
I can't
understand.
Speak right now.
Right.
So
okay. Yeah. Tom Crawford sent us a little post message here, and kind of wanted to read this. Yeah. He said, "Hey guys, thanks for doing this podcast. It's wonderful to hear two guys as thrilled to read this work as me." And I got to say, that is our thing. Like what. We love it, and so I'm sorry that sometimes we get bogged down in the as you call it, the minutia, the nitty gritty details and stuff. But I see people doing that in the group too, and it's what I love.
And I think of all things I've read in my life, it's worthy of it.
It is worthy of it.
I mean, like the man he dedicated,
dude,
all of his life virtually to this.
It's going to influence people for years and years.
Yeah, we can spend 3 hours every week. Yeah. Digging into the details, and there's stuff that he put in there that probably people won't catch for another 100 years. I mean, he's just, oh my gosh, he wove such a good tale, my friend.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I was wondering, as I hear your episodes, do either of you use figures of speech? Used in the story in your actual lives? I've actually told people who try to shortcut something to get a task done quicker. Let's make long delays.
I love that.
I'm also fond of certain quotes in Lord of the Rings. If I shoo a bug away, I'll quote, Eowyn talking to the Witch King, "Be gone, foul Dwemer." What?
Dwemer Lake?
Oh,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, just wondered if you guys use lines in the books in your daily lives, as I'm sure certain others do with Harry Potter quotes and whatnot. So farewell. Thanks, Tom. We appreciate.
Tom, I'll just leave you with this: don't forget the sniffing.
Yeah.
Never forget the sniffing. Do we use? Yeah, we say sticklebats, and
we do.
One thing drives out another.
There's one. Almost every text message, if I'm not responding, Lane will ask me, "You still there, Dad?"
Dad.
He calls me Dad.
Old Daddy 2 Foot, Proudfoot. What's his name?
Yeah,
2 Foot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And gosh, I'm trying to think. There's plenty of other. We have to sit and ponder a bit, but
and then the movieisms creep in too.
Yeah, the movieisms.
We use those too.
Yeah, for sure.
Can't think of any at the
share
moment.
Share the load. We use that a lot.
Dude, oh my gosh, yesterday I was at a stoplight and I turned to the left and I saw one of those bike signs that says share the road. And I wanted to take a picture and post and say, every time I see this, I read it, share the road, the road, the road.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, we got one from Robert Williams.
Yeah.
I'll call you Robbie.
Yeah.
Greetings from a fellow Tolkien fan living in Bree, also known as Cincinnati.
Wow.
Cincinnati might actually be our Bree.
It make sense, doesn't it?
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder, Robbie, if you've ever been to, I shouldn't call him Robbie. Robert, if you've ever been to the little Shire of Amanda, if you haven't, I think we should make that happen, man.
Yeah.
We should. Found the podcast a couple of weeks ago and have been loving it. Tolkien has been something very important to me for a long time, and I always love hearing other people's perspectives on the books and etc. Having great discussions about them. My first experience with Tolkien was during the summer between 8th grade and high school, many moons ago now. Up until that summer, I had been the kind of kid who read no more than I could help, as I was a poor reader, and I found the books for school uninteresting. Amen. Mm-hmm. That summer, my dad handed me a copy of The Hobbit and said he thought I might enjoy it. I remember sitting on our porch, reading from morning till being called for supper. Holy cow. I was a slow reader, so it took me a long time to read it. For days and days that summer. I loved the adventure with Bilbo and his dwarvish friends, and when I came to the end, I was sad that it was all over. Then I found out about the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which my parents were more than happy to purchase for me, as they were just happy to see me actually wanting to read something. For the rest of that summer and into the fall, I read the 3 books, both improving my reading skills and also making me fall in love with Middle-earth. Does it get more beautiful than that?
No, it really, this is great.
This opened up a whole new reading life for me, and from then on, I usually had a book in my hand or somewhere close by. Silmarillion followed, which was a more difficult read, and since then, it has become a yearly thing for me to reread the books over 30 times now.
Holy.
And I still find new tidbits, make new connections, and come to new understandings each and every time. Thanks for the wonderful podcast, guys. Keep up the great work. Loving doing this year's reread along with you. Can I just say it's an honor for us to be joining your yearly reread?
Yeah, really.
That's amazing, man.
That's actually super awesome. I mean,
how many stories now have we heard where Tolkien is responsible for improving readers' abilities?
Let me just tell you something real quick. Okay, for me. Okay. What? So, accelerated reader points. Just let me tell you. Because I am here with, I am in the same boat, okay, as Robert. And like learning how to read, when somebody put, that librarian at Mount Vernon put that, book in my hand and explained to me what was in it.
Yeah.
I couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
And I was not a good reader either. And I didn't care how difficult it was on accelerated reader. I was going to read it.
Yeah.
And it forces you,
And I was. It sounded like I was joking around about backskipping, but I'm serious. Like I get so. Well, one thing drives out another. Yep. You guys know I'm a butterbur, and I just have a lot of thoughts going on at the same time. And sometimes I'll read an entire paragraph and go, I was just thinking about dinner. Or I was just remembering a conversation I had with Goldberry or something. You know what I mean? And so I have to go back and reread things over and over again. And what this story has done for me every time I've read it is it's really made me improve comprehension. It's made me because you can't take a paragraph off.
No, you can't.
It messes up the rest of the story. Like you have to catch everything there. And also, he's talking about, this is something I relate to, and I found the books for school uninteresting. I can't tell you how many times I had to read a book that I didn't give a shit about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Didn't care. And it's not that they were bad books. It's just for me, I had no connection to them.
Yeah.
I felt nothing for them. I wasn't invested.
Yeah.
And to this day, if you ask me to read something and I'm not quite feeling it, I'm not going to. Yeah. I can't. I just can't do it. I have to really care about what I'm reading, because I think this is just a weird thing I have with time. Yeah, as we're running out, probably, right? Is that like there's only so much time you have in life, and I don't want to read something that in the end I think, nah, it wasn't worth it. Mm-hmm. Wasn't worth it. What's your eyes doing?
Nothing.
Okay. Okay, that's the end. We'll save Daniel's for next.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, gonna have to do that. So, okay, anyway, amazing. Thank you guys for writing into the Bywater post. Unbelievable. So we've got something kind of special for Strawberries with Cream.
Yeah.
All right. There has been a poll out there on the Facebook group. Michael Upshaw posted about picking your fellowship. Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. So in the second half of this chapter, even more so in the next chapter, we have a fellowship that's selected. Yeah. 9 members. Okay. So we thought it might be kind of cool to have the 2018 Fellowship of the Ring Draft of Doom. So as the time has come, I'm LeBron, you're Steph. Let's draft our all-star fellowship. We can't pick the same person, and we flip for first pick.
Okay, here's the thing.
Ezra's going to be playing for the Wizards.
I'm not Steph.
Well, I claimed LeBron.
I don't care.
I picked first.
You can have LeBron.
Ezra is going to be playing for the Wizards, and I am the New Zealand Fellowship.
Okay.
So we've got a draft board made up, guys. We are ready to go. All that needs to be done, and actually, do you have that pulled up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Will you read for everyone the pool of players, if you will, that we have to draft from?
Of course, you'd make me read all the names.
I'll read it if you want.
Gandalf the Grey, Samwise Gamgee, Gimli, Frodo, Legolas, Boromir, Merry, Pippin, Aragorn, Bilbo, Faramir, Glorfindel, Tom Bombadil, Radagast, Elrond, Arwen, Dane, Farmer Maggot, Galadriel, Prince Imriel.
Imrahil.
Yeah. Who's that? Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Jesus, criminy. Oh, my gosh.
Are we at 3 hours?
Yes, we are.
You're freaking me out. Okay.
Yeah, we are. Where am I at here?
Dwellin.
Yes. Yep. Gollum, Schmeagol, whatever. Fatty Bulger, Knob, Barlaman Butterbeer. Butterbeer. Thank you.
That's Harry Potter.
You're right, it is.
Butterbeer.
It is. Gosh, I'm in too many different fans. Galdor, right?
Yep. Aristor
and Tammy Lane. Yeah, great.
Okay, so there is a stipulation, and we're going to break this into 2 parts, guys, because we want to give enough time. We want to build this into this chapter. So we'll do the first half of the draft this episode.
Yep.
The second half, let's do 4 picks this episode. Round 1 will be 4 picks each, and round 2 will be 5 picks. So you can, I guess it doesn't have to be. You can draft up to 9 members in your fellowship.
Okay.
You have to designate 1 as a ring bearer, and you can pick 1 beast of burden. Mm-hmm. So I don't think Gwaihir and Shadowfax count as a beast of burden because they're lords. They're pretty important.
Sure.
So it'd be something smaller like, Bill the Pony.
Yeah, gotcha.
Or, I don't know, a dwarven pig.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Okay.
Or warg. Okay?
Sure.
If you could tame one to be nice. All right, so since you're the visitor, I'm going to let you... Would you rather flip or call?
You flip, I'll call.
Say it again?
You flip, I'll call.
You heard it here first, folks.
Heads. What do you got?
It is heads. So do you want first or second pick?
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now?
Man, that's a 2-headed coin.
Are you serious?
No, it's not. Actually, guys, I flipped a $2 New Zealand coin.
Oh, cool.
Which is pretty cool. It's got the queen on the front and some sort of kiwi bird on the back.
Okay, I'm going to highlight mine here on this doc.
Do you get first pick, guys?
First pick.
We're picking 4.
Wow, and I have to. So this is very important, right?
Number 1 pick is kind of important. Yeah, you'd be right in assuming that.
Frodo Baggins.
Okay, you're going with Frodo.
Yep, and he is my ring bearer.
Wow,
Slam.
out of the gate.
Slam.
Why would you pick Frodo in your fellowship?
Well, because I that is one of the most, that is the most, I think, important position is the ring bearer.
Okay. Wow, dude, I like this. I really, really like this. My number one pick, no question, Aragorn. Okay. Bingo, bango, bongo. Why? Oh, I don't know. Because he's the king that's returning. He's selfless. He's fruitful. He's magnificent. And he uses L'Oreal. So whatever.
Okay.
Your second pick?
My second, Gandalf the Grey.
Okay. Predictable. Why?
Well, you need people of intelligence
on this sort of mission
quest.
Quest thing. All right, excellent. This is working out for me very nicely. My second pick is Samwise the Gamgee.
Okay, so that's a good one. That's a good one. I'll give you that.
And
well, you don't get two.
No.
Okay.
He's my ring bearer.
He's your ring bearer.
He's my ring bearer. Boom, baby.
Oh my god, dude, that's such a good one. Oh man. Dude, that's so clutch. That is so clutch. I cannot believe you just did it.
Okay, here's the other thing too that I forgot to say at the beginning. What we're gonna do is at the end of next episode. Well, I'm sorry, not this week, but next week's poll is gonna be who won this draft.
Right.
Are you Team Wizard or are you Team New Zealand? Who picked a stronger fellowship?
Yeah.
And guys, this is also all tongue in cheek. This is fun. So I mean,
so
you can get serious and analyze it.
Vote for me is what I'm saying. So
I'm counting on you winning.
No, I'm counting on just people saying that I'm picking a better fellowship.
And at the end of this too, at the end of our next round of drafting, we're gonna defend why our fellowship is stronger. We're just gonna say a couple sentences as to why we believe this fellowship would function better than, yours. Better than yours.
Gotcha.
You stumped on your third pick there, bud?
No, pretty easy. Gimli.
Wow.
Gimli. Third pick.
Wow.
Now,
Gimli as a third pick.
Do you want to know why?
Why that high is what I want to know.
Because you have to I think you have to have all the different races, represented. And I sort of feel like I'm not going to go with, is Gloin even in this list? I don't know if you put Gloin in here. There are other, you've got Dane, but I don't see any other dwarves. And you've got Dane Ironfoot.
Dwalin is in there.
Dwalin is in there. Okay. But to me, Gimli, I know, has proven himself, and I think he's a good, loyal friend. So he's in my fellowship.
Wow.
So represent.
Okay, that's probably the highest I think Gimli's ever been picked in anything, but that's awesome. My third pick, I'm going with Arwen Undamiel.
Okay.
Because, as what do they say? True love waits, love waits, but true love mates.
Yeah. Okay.
So I want Arwen on my side. She's a gifted writer. She's the love of Aragorn's life, and this is only going to make them stronger.
Okay.
Wow, really.
I think it's interesting. You're risking the life of Arwen on this quest.
So maybe you're unfamiliar with the relationship I have with my wife, but if there's anyone I want having my back, it's Goldberry.
Okay.
And so I want Aragorn and Arwen fighting together.
Okay.
Arwen can handle herself.
Sure.
She doesn't need Aragorn walking around going, "I'm going to protect you, my lady." That was Sean Connery, by the way, his version. She can take care of herself. She is a match for darkness. Let me just remind you, she's the daughter of Elrond, a mighty warrior himself.
Gotcha.
Boom. That's why. Who's your number 4 pick? Are you gonna pick old Knob there?
Are you kidding me?
You are, aren't you?
I can't. So I'm going to win this thing because I have a strategy, and I'll explain it at the end here. I get one more pick right now, right?
You're making this up. This is your final pick of this round. Make
final
it
pick
count.
of this round, Legolas.
Oh my gosh, dude! Why don't you pick everyone who was actually in the Fellowship? Why don't you do that?
Well, that's my.
Is that what you're going to do?
That's my strategy.
Well, good luck because you can't have Aragorn.
Right, exactly. I don't need him. I can fill.
What?
I can fill his spot with someone else.
Blasphemy.
I'm just saying.
Blasphemy.
Like you're picking people who are outside of the original Fellowship. I'm picking people who are proven members. If they're on the board, I'm going to pick them. Okay? If they're on the board, I'm taking them.
Well, don't listen to part 2, guys, because you already know.
No, you don't, because you will eventually take, I'm guessing, you're going to have to take a couple of the other players who are in the, unless you don't. And then I'm going to be surprised. There is one or two who I might leave out if they're still on the board.
Well, you're going to have to, obviously.
No, what? How? No.
Hamina?
I mean, if you don't pick them, then I might pick them. But I'm just saying.
Okay, see, now I'm...
So you one more pick.
I'm going back and forth between a few here.
Okay.
But to be honest...
You're on the clock.
I'm on the clock. I got 30 seconds. I honestly think that, like, of these ones I'm debating, you're not going to pick any of them.
Okay,
so it's kind of good for me.
I wouldn't be so sure.
Well, they're not in the original Fellowship.
That's not exactly what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, as many... See, the reason I got Gimli and
Well,
Legolas,
I guess that's true. You will have to pick because I've got...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Gimli and Legolas, the friendship that they have is one of the reasons why I picked them. I've got my ring bearer, I've got my intelligence, and I've got two really good friends who...
And Aragorn and Arwen aren't friends? And
whatever.
Aragorn and Sam aren't friends?
Whatever.
Aragorn and Sam keep watch together, my friend.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know.
So I think I'm doing the same thing, but whatever.
Okay.
I do want a dwarf on my side. I want my favorite dwarf. And yes, I did fact check. He is still alive. He lives for about actually like into the fourth age, 90 years.
Take him.
I'm going with Dwalin.
Take him.
Dwalin's a BA.
All right.
He used to have a massive mohawk back in the day. And Dwalin is one of the most passionate dwarves. He's one of the most loyal dwarves, but he's not blind to his loyalty. Okay. He was there for Thorin. He was with Thorin by his side, but he wasn't so blinded that when Thorin was struck with lust, he didn't question that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's round one. So just to be clear, the Wizards have the number one pick for the Wizards was Frodo Baggins, and he's named Ringbearer. Number 2 pick is Gandalf the Grey. Number 3, Gimli, son of Wow.
Some good one. It's cool.
I had typed in here Gimli, son of Gimli.
I know you did.
Gimli, son of Glowing.
It's getting late.
And Legolas Greenleaf. For the team New Zealand, number 1 pick, Aragorn the second, obviously. Number 2 pick, Samwise Gamgee. He's the ring bearer. Number 3 pick, Arwen Undamiel. And number 4, Dwalin.
Wow.
Okay.
All right, so stay tuned. Next,
second round of the draft will be at the end of next episode. And then you guys can decide.
Yeah. How bad I whooped up on New Zealand.
Try to do it without the king. That's all I know, brother. So. Try to do it without the king.
Okay.
We'll find a replacement for him.
You're ridiculous. Okay. Hey, guys. Thank you for listening. We love you guys. Lane is loopy because it's past midnight here.
Oh, gosh.
And that's what happens with Lane. So let's jump into Share the Load, though. We would love for you to hop over to patreon.com/UpTalkingTolkien and check out some of our content there.
There's some cool free stuff too.
Yeah, some free stuff that we're going to start uploading there, and we've got one cool thing up there already: our reaction to Billy Boyd, and then we've got T-shirts. We've got some other every 6 months we're going to get together in July and in December like a swag bag to kind of send out to you guys. So
some art is already ready for that, right?
Yeah, some art's ready for that.
That's cool.
We've scanned that in, and so I think we're good to go. So
awesome.
But yeah, definitely check that out. I think that's it, man.
Okay, time for our weekly well wishes, formerly fortnight farewells. We want to thank you for stepping off the road with us. Our next episode will be digging deep into Chapter 14 or Chapter 2, The Council of Elrond, Part 2.
If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, or leave a comment, or send us a Shadowfax.
We'll see you next week. And remember, Frodo lives.